Hello and welcome to the dual stream of Joe Schmo and Trial TV Live of Day 1 of Arizona versus Lori Daybell Esquire. I am the Squeegee of Justice alongside my good friend Joe Schmo. How are you tonight, Joe?
Outstanding. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for being in the courtroom as you were with the Charles Vallow case. We always appreciate hearing your insight and I know we have a lot of new people that are to both of our audiences, to our chat. So let me just take a quick moment before we get started, just to let people get their popcorn ready and see who has joined us today. So let's see. We've got Debbie coming in. Ooh, at 12:55. Debbie says, "Hi, Joe. Saw you for the first time last night on the podcast. Here to follow. Awesome."
Well, thank you. Thanks, Debbie. Welcome in.
Kathy,
get ready for a fun conversation.
Absolutely. Kathy's new member. Kikaru is a new member. Thank you, Kikaru. Lorianne Good saying good evening from Canada. Shore Life Creations. Woo! Ready for Joe's recap of the day if I can stay up long enough.
Right. It is a long day, but Judge Boreski kept us running from before he banged the gavel, which he didn't bang the gavel, but before he started court. He was on a schedule today.
That's interesting that you're right. He does not bang a gavel. Did they do it in Delphi? Did that judge bang a gavel or no?
I don't think so. Honestly, I can't remember now that you ask, because it's so natural when they do that it would be unusual, like with Judge Boreski, to know when they don't.
Right. AZ Mermaid, hello. I'm still picking my jaw up off the floor. Nice. Baca is present and accounted for. Madeline PT, DPT. Missed all of today's updates, so this is going to be a fun surprise. Awesome.
Nice.
Well, Joe, I'm sure you have a lot of really interesting things to tell us about. Our big news before we get started is that for those that follow our channel, Paulie has given birth to 4 kittens, 3 black and 1 ginger. So we are, Aaron has a Ring camera going on, a kitty cam right now, but we're trying to figure out how to connect that to my computer. So hopefully by tomorrow we can get that set up for you guys and we can show you that. Because right now I'm just holding up Aaron's camera to this camera. But all right, Joe, take it away. How was day 1? How was your commute? How was the gallery? Tell us all about it.
It was a good day from that aspect, from the logistics aspect. Trace and I carpool together. Trace in the case and I carpool together. And we decided to come in a little bit later today.
Okay.
Just to have a little more relaxed commute. And the traffic was a little bit heavy because we were a little bit closer to rush hour, but we were still fairly early. We got there a little bit after 6 o'clock. Okay. And there were 12-ish people in line when we got there. So she got, a pretty good seat still all the way mm-hmm. through. Mm-hmm. And I get to go in with the media now, so I don't have to worry about that, which is so relaxing.
Mm-hmm. So you have a media badge then? You got a media badge?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Media credentials.
Right on. And you got that from the court, from your buddy, right?
He gave me the authorization that those credentials were valid. Not every court would do that for social media content creators. Vincent is different. Vincent is an awesome PIO, mm-hmm. Public Information Officer. So he saw me throughout the whole entire first trial going in as public. And then we got to talking a lot and I asked him questions a lot. And finally I'm like, hey, this trial, I'm going to come in as media. And he's like, all right, you're Walter Cronkite to me.
Nice. Yeah. I like that. That's not a bad comparison for those that remember Walter.
Yeah, no, it's highly complimentary, but also tongue in cheek.
Mm-hmm. So by having media credentials, that means you go through the regular, metal detectors, all that jazz, but then you don't have to wait in line with the other regular folks. You can just show your pass and then just walk in, or how?
No, you don't. No, you don't even have to show your pass because all of the media people know each other. By the time you get up to the seating area, the waiting area outside of the courtroom. There are 4 rows of seats. The first 2 rows are reserved for media, and the back 2 rows are reserved for the public. And so I just moved from the back 2 rows up to the front 2 rows, and most of the people there, Nate knows me, Lauren and her producer know me, and they were all very accepting of the change. And it's just like, so when you go to get into the courtroom, they let the media in first. So the media just goes in and fills in the back 2 rows, and then they let the public in and they fill in the middle 3 rows.
Okay. So there's not like people elbowing and saying, hey, you know, I was here first, that kind of thing. Everybody's pretty cool and respectful, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and in the first trial, the media seats got pretty tight. I'm not sure that anybody got left out of the gallery, but that's not how it happened in this trial, which is with me being in the media pool. And that also frees up 1 seat for another person in the public, because I'm there early. I'm there in the top 5 every single time, sometimes first, sometimes second, sometimes third, but I'm going to get a public seat or I'm going to get a media seat either way. So me being in the media pool, where they're not maxed out, they get 15 seats, and there have been like 9, 10 in the media. So plenty of seats for the media. So no elbowing. No elbowing.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, but I had to ask, you know, because you see the media going after the jurors and they're like vultures, but to each other, they're pretty cool.
Yeah. They will elbow each other for an interview with a juror.
Yeah. So can you tell us who you're sitting with? Can you divulge like who part of this media group, who are you sitting with?
Today I sat a couple seats down from Nate. There were plenty of seats, so we kind of spread out a little bit. So Nate and his photographer from the case in Idaho. Remember when Lori had hearings and there was a photographer that got her looking straight at the camera and smiling? You remember, like, that sideways look?
Yes.
That famous picture? He took that.
Wow, cool.
He used to be an AP photographer.
Okay.
And Nate said, my usual photographer can't be up here for this hearing. Can you come fill in for him? And they allowed him to go. So there was no jury. So they allowed him to go into the jury box and just take as many pictures as he wanted, as long as his camera didn't make clicking noises.
Right. Don't distract. Don't want to have distraction.
So he ended up going to 2 hearings, and he said he took about 4,500 pictures at each hearing.
Wow. Each hearing. Jeez. And those hearings were how long? Like half an hour or?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. All right. That's cool. So, Nate, you have probably some of the local.
There was a CBS 5 gal there. I think the other gal was from Law and Crime, maybe.
Okay.
And I think, did they have a feed today? If they had a feed today, then it was her.
They did.
He was from Law and Crime. Yeah. So, and then Lauren from Hidden True Crime and her producer. And then there's another guy. His name is Mike, and he has been around forever. And he was around for the first trial. And he's the guy that did a bunch of investigation into, like, the Foundational Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Like, that was his jam. Like, he's the Nate Eaton of, like, 15 years ago. But, he's still on the beat. A really cool guy, very accepting and, willing to talk. And I'm going to invite him on the channel for an interview. I don't know if he'll accept it, but I'm definitely going to invite him, because I know he's got some interesting stories.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Now, as far as streamers, before we get, I want to get into the actual what happened. But as far as streamers, are you the only one, or are there?
No, Lauren from Hidden True Crime.
And Lauren, okay, right, okay. So it's just you, just you two.
Yes.
Then? Yep. Wow, interesting. All right.
And and she has 280,000 subscribers, and I have 2,000.
Hey, you got to start somewhere.
That's right. I have goals.
You do.
And she's been so nice and kind and generous. And I shared with her producer the documents that came down yesterday, because they were up the night before researching that those missing, or the manhunt for the father that killed his 3 girls in Utah. So when that came out, they stayed up till like 1 o'clock in the morning working on that story. And so they hadn't had a chance to check the docket. And when they came in, I was like, hey, have you seen these documents that came down? And that was the order to transport Lori no matter what. willingly or unwillingly use force if necessary, and also for them to do a medical evaluation / assessment of her.
Right.
And they hadn't seen those yet. So her producer came and sat down next to me. I showed her where to find them, and I think she went out and did a live on them. And just at that exact same time, Justin was posting. So we didn't know that so that was the order for Monday. We didn't know if there was an order for Wednesday. That was yesterday morning,
right,
for forcible transport. And that came down while she was doing her live. So I texted her real quick and I'm like, hey, Justin just said that there is a forcible transport order. So in the middle of her live, she was able to have like breaking news. That was pretty cool. And she gave me a shout out on her live. Somebody with 280,000 subscribers gave me a shout out. That's pretty awesome.
That is very awesome. Yeah, that is great. I'm so happy that you're there. You're rubbing elbows with these people. This is only going to make you, your channel grow and your community grow. So I think I'm just so happy for you that you're there and you're experiencing that. Quick question from Calm Sunshine: is Tom Evans there?
No, he is not. He has not come to this trial.
Okay.
I was going to text him after or during jury selection and say jury selection isn't the same without you, because that's where I met him, was in jury selection for the first trial. Okay. And we instantly like clicked, but not here, not yet. Maybe. Yeah.
Now the juror from the Charles Vallow, she came back. I forget her
Taj,
name?
Yes.
Taj, yeah. Taj, yeah. Have you had a chance to say hello to her?
I did, just kind of in passing. And she is super cool. She's laid back. She's friendly. She just has a great attitude about everything and about all of the attention. She was willing to give interviews. I asked her if she would give one, and she might, and she might not. But if she does, I would be honored for her to come on. Just because I spent so much attention on Carl and the negativity that went along with what he said.
Yeah.
And just because it blew my mind that he ever said it. But her interview of the three, I think, was the best. And I said it at the time when I saw her interview, that I'm like, this, she has her head on straight and she's thinking about what she's saying before she says it, and she's saying the right things. So I was very impressed by that at the time. And then when she showed up yesterday, so she wanted to show up every day, but she has work and a life, and so she can't do that. So probably coming back for like verdict or closing arguments or whatever. But
gotcha.
That's it. That's hanging out there. That's dangling out there. I would be honored if she would come on and do an interview. So we'll see.
Awesome. All right, let's get to it. Unless you have any other preamble that you want to go through, or do you want to dive into the day?
No, we can dive into the day.
Okay. All right. Start us off. What happened first, or just go through your notes, or how do you want to do this?
Well, while we're waiting to get in, though, I asked Nate Eaton, have you heard? So Nate and Justin are the two people with connections with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. They're the ones that broke the news that there was a forcible entry or forcible transfer order for yesterday morning. I asked him this morning, is there going to be another one? Is Lori going to do this every single day, and the judge is going to have to issue an order every single day to force her to come to court? And he was like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. So no, I don't know. But it didn't hang very long, because people started coming into court. The attorneys started coming in. The family members started coming in. And we're like, okay, Lori's going to be in the court. She's going to be here today. But Brandon Boudreaux's family came in, and it was a huge flock of people. So there's a victim advocate, and I know her now very well. I mean, not on a personal level, but I know who she is and what she does. And she took them into the family victim room, and I posted on X, I'm like, they're going to fill up 2 seats. So that's going to take 1 seat away from the public, but it is what it is. They deserve first seating, of course. And they did end up taking up 2 seats when we all got seated. They get seated about the same time as the media before the public comes in, and they filled up 2 rows, but they were there to support Brandon, and probably knew that Brandon would be testifying today. None of us knew what order that Trina K would go in. That I know of. But obviously they did, because there were a bunch of them there.
Do you have a witness list? Because Charles,
I do, yes.
You do, okay. Yeah, Charles, I had my hands on one. I do not have my hands on one for this go around. So
Yeah, I have both of them for the state and for the defense.
okay. How many are Trina? How many witnesses is Trina planning on calling? Roughly like 20,
Or how many
15?
are on her? How many are on her list?
Yeah. Is it more than 20? Is it less than 100?
It's around 20. I just pulled up. You're asking me to look at something that I looked at like an hour ago, and I can't remember.
Well, to paraphrase Lori, right? It's like, is it more than 20? Is it less than 100?
Right.
I think that's what she said
It's a
today.
yes. It's around 20. Give
Okay.
me three. Give me 3 seconds, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No worries.
I messaged it to myself while I was in court because my computer was about to die, and I didn't have it on my phone yet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, wrong way. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So I was close.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guess that she's not going to call all 22, like she didn't call all of her witnesses on the other witness list, right?
Right. Was Colby there? Lily Wayne is asking. He was not. Okay.
No, Colby was not. Kay was.
But Kay was. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's all I have for my questions for the get go. So let's get into the day.
Okay. So 10:13, the court goes on the record. Jury's not there yet. And judge says, do you know about the juror that asked to not be on the jury? Did you guys see that?
Only because of medical or something. Was that what it was?
Yeah. So he was the oldest guy. He was juror number 10. He was the oldest guy by far. He's ancient.
Yeah.
He's the one I described on my live. The Navy veteran that retired from 2 different careers in
That's
his
what we
life.
thought. Yeah.
And he said the note that he passed to the court staff was, last night on my way home, I had a fever and chills and was just not feeling well. And I think I should probably just go ahead and, retire from, he didn't say retire from the jury. I'm going to say that for him. Just because this is day 1 and he's having these health issues, at some point down the road, it may get worse. So let's just go ahead and nip it in the bud. But we have already, just like in the first trial, we're down one juror. Like we're down one juror.
Before opening statements, before anything, already down one juror. Poor guy. Well, I hope he's okay. We're sending out some good vibes to you, juror number 10.
Absolutely. A wonderful man with military experience. And so we honor his military service and just his life in general. And his willingness in the first place to come serve on a jury and give it a try. At his age, that's amazing.
I agree.
At my age, I'd be like, I'm too old.
You want me to get up at what time?
Yeah, right.
I'm retired. Like, I'm allowed to sleep until 11.
And they'd be like, and what time did you get up for Lori Vallow's trials? I'm like, shh.
Okay, so he didn't even come in, right? Or
nope.
Like he didn't even come
well,
in.
he may have come in and handed a note to the court staff. He may have, because they said he handed a note to court staff. So he may have physically done that, or he may have sent it electronically.
Okay. Because I think yesterday a juror texted that they were running late. Was that, well, no, not yesterday because they were out. It must have been Monday or Tuesday. Somebody texted, I thought. Do you remember that?
No, it was jury selection yesterday. No. You're right. Monday. It was.
Somebody texted. I thought
No. It wasn't Monday because Monday was the half day. It was yesterday morning before jury selection.
Okay.
Six of the jurors that were there Monday and got sent home early had to drive all the way down to downtown Phoenix and find parking, get transported,
right?
Sit around and wait all morning till they finally get called in and then told they're going home. 6 of those people did not come in. And so court staff texted all 6 of those and said, where are you? And one of them made the mistake of texting back and saying, well, just because of the uncertainty of the trial schedule, I I decided to go back to a normal work schedule.
That's right. That's right.
And
Thanks
the
for
and the
reminding me.
and the judge said, I'm going to refer him to the juror commissioner or something like that, which does not sound good for that guy or
Oh,
gal.
oh boy. Contempt? Could they find him in contempt?
It could be because
Yeah.
they were ordered by the judge to come back on Wednesday morning.
Wow. Wow.
Could
Okay.
be criminal charges.
Right. Well, hopefully he just gets hit with a fine of whatever and
Yeah,
probably
I think it would
goes.
have been better off just not texting the court. Just like,
Yeah. Play
come,
dumb.
come find me. Yeah.
Yeah. Go dark. Say what? Nope, not my phone. Actually, before we do get started, we watched your show last night, but for those that didn't, tell us the makeup of the jury, if you don't mind.
Okay. How much detail, or just
Uh,
generally?
well, we know
It's
there was 8 and 8, right? 8 men, 8 women, but now we're down one male. So, yeah,
right,
just generalize, I guess.
and a lot, and a wide range of ages, and a wide range of lifestyles. And I don't mean like that in the LBGTQ way. I mean like in
Mhm.
the there's a dude that has um, Trace calls him Captain Jack because he wears like this band on his head, and
Oh no.
he wore it to jury selection, and he wears
Nice.
it to and he wore it today
Mhm.
to A1. And he has this band across his head, and he's got a kind of some pirate looking facial hair going on.
Mhm.
Um, and then there's another guy that's got long hair and a mustache and facial hair. And then there's some like middle of the road, middle aged people. And then the women are a wide variety. Um, they're mostly younger though. I think they're almost all younger. I'll have to pay more attention tomorrow, but I think all of the
Mhm.
women on the jury are pretty much younger
Mhm.
women, but they just seem to have, they seem to be all pretty even keeled for the most part.
Okay.
The Captain Jack, I think, is a little fidgety based on my observations today. Like when what's funny is in the first trial, the guy that sat in that exact same chair was a fidgety guy that was prone to not paying attention and looking off into space. And
Mhm.
this juror number 9 is in the exact same chair, and he's kind of the same way, a little bit different, but kind of the same. And this is
Mhm.
after one day of observations, and I'm trying to
Sure.
pay attention to them. I'm trying to take notes, and I'm trying to make tweets. And
I don't know how you are doing all of that, like, because your note taking is not electronic, right? You are physically writing down notes.
I have been, and
Okay.
during jury selection, I got writer's cramp. And so today I tried a little something different, and we're going to see how it works. I took my notes on X.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I was making tweets, and as we talk about this today, I'm just going to kind of go through my tweets instead of
Okay.
looking at my notebook. But I also did at the same time when there was like an extended questioning that didn't have anything noteworthy to tweet, like when Trina K was like going over the same stuff she goes over with the same people, and all of
Mhm.
that. I don't need to tweet all that stuff out because you guys are also watching it.
Right.
So so I can just like highlight with my pen and paper my notes on the jurors. And some of those I do also include on X, but I've also got my notebook right here with my juror notes from today, and they're not nearly as extensive as I had to go through for jury selection.
Gotcha. Okay, real quick before we get started, because this has to do with the guy who was excused. Was it the cowboy hat? The guy who was wearing a cowboy hat?
Um, I think so. I think so. That sounds
Mhm.
right.
Okay. All right. And we'll get to the rest of your questions. JWD, I see a question about why Lori didn't question Brandon. We'll probably get to that as we go through our notes. So just hang tight on that one. Um, all right. So we kind of have a makeup of the jury. Judge Boreski, he was in good form. How was Lori? Um, well, we saw her walk in yesterday and she was all kind of hunched over. And to me, she kind of started off slow but gained speed. How was she for you? Like, what did you think?
When she walked in carrying her huge armful of legal folders and stuff that she carried in with her, I
Mhm.
mean, she looked just like she did in trial one to me.
Okay.
And then
Did,
when her voice seemed
yeah.
just as consistent with the first trial during opening statements.
Okay. I felt that she seemed a little well compared. Okay, for me, she felt weak at the beginning, but as the trial went on, she gained more confidence, or not confidence. She just sounded stronger. Like at the beginning, she sounded, you know, and then as maybe after lunch, maybe she's starting to feel better. Who knows? What actually do you know? What was it? A stomach flu? Because she's on Tylenol, which to me would be like a headache or a cold.
Headache.
Yeah.
The judge actually said headache, and he didn't say she has a headache. He
Mm-hmm.
said a headache wouldn't be an objective reason, an objective medical reason to preclude you from coming to court. He said a headache wouldn't be something. So I think it's a headache. I think he kind of like slipped a little bit and what it is, but.
Because did you say she got sick after lunch on Friday? Was that you that said
Yes.
that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So was that not food poisoning then? Because she would have been fine by even Monday. So it was. Do you think it was a flu, or has she just had? Is it just been a headache? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, so here's the thing. We talked a little bit of sitting on the steps waiting to get in this morning about migraines, about debilitating migraines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I know people that have debilitating migraines, and I would not envy that, and I would not wish that on anybody. No.
Yeah, not fun at all.
And they really are debilitating. Like you can't think, you can't speak. You just have to go lay down, turn off the lights, put a cold compress on your head, and maybe take something that might take the edge off of it.
Right.
But here's the thing, and this is what Judge Boreski mentioned yesterday. I would like to note that the defendant can talk and act just fine in front of the jury, in front of the jurors, but now she can't seem to talk. So that's not how debilitating migraines work. You don't just pop up and, oh, I'm good for like a half an hour, and then, oh, I can't do anything again. I mean,
right.
That's not how they work.
Head on desk, she had her head on her desk. She was sounding so deflated. Was it Tuesday? I guess she sounded deflated. We
didn't have court Tuesday, but it could have been Wednesday morning.
So then it was Wednesday. God, I'm getting my days screwed up.
Lori will do that to you. Like she said,
right. Yeah. So Monday she was in. She was sick. They took Tuesday off. Wednesday they did jury selection. Now here we are Thursday. Okay, that's what it was. I'm getting my days screwed up there with her. She's mind melding me. All right.
Yeah, I want to take just 1 second to thank everybody that's in my chat and make sure you guys. I'm going to drop a link in chat, or if one of my mods would drop a link. Holy cow! It's been a long day. Would drop a link to Trial TV Live in my chat. I would appreciate it. Make sure you sub up to them too.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. I know we have a lot of people straddling the stream, so guys, definitely go give Joe some love as well. He deserves it. That's what we do here. We bring each other up.
Yep, we do.
All right. Debbie's saying, I hope they don't give her too many meds at a time because she can make herself sick on them if she gets KOP, which we found out today. I never heard that phrase before, but we heard that at basically the end of the day, which is, You want to tell us what that means?
Keep on person. So that they're not allowed to have any medications on them when they leave the jail because they have to be very carefully administered by jail staff. So she requested a KOP order for some type of medication. There are lots of rumors about what that might be. So she could have enough on hand during a full day of trial to medicate whatever her symptoms are or whatever her condition might be.
Right. Okay.
And the judge granted it. He said that the court hereby orders the MCSO to comply with that and provide her a KOP.
No, not. I got to pull this one up. Not ketamine, Jamie. KOP. Keep on person. Can you imagine Lori on ketamine? Who knows? Might mellow her out or make her. No, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, judge definitely said Tylenol. Yes, we heard that as well.
Okay, I didn't hear that because he was not talking close enough into the mic for the mic to pick him up for us in the gallery.
It was actually okay. It was my notes, and this was at the end. Off camera guy talking. Tylenol needs to be brought over. So he was talking to some person off
Oh yeah,
camera.
yeah. That's the deputy that brings
Okay.
Lori in and out and sits there on the side of the courtroom the entire
Okay.
trial with
Okay.
his finger on the button.
Gotcha. Salty Sleuth. Hello. Welcome to the show. You had a phone call. How dare they? Good to see you in our chat.
And here we see Pammy straddling too. So
Yes.
y'all should straddle. So you should pull up on one device or in one tab my channel and watch this, and then pull up Trial TV Live too. And if you need lessons, Pammy is the expert. She's the straddling pro.
She is. Yes, that's what I have going on. I've got
Yep.
one browser, but I have two tabs, one for Joe and one for us. So, there you go, DSN. You subscribe to Joe. Madeline is straddling. Madeline straddling.
Love it.
That sounds like a song lyric.
Yeah, or a guitar player. Like Izzy Stradlin's cousin.
There you go. Oh, I love it. God, I haven't thought of him in a long time.
Right.
Juju Hounds, are you a fan of his work with he is the Juju Hounds, or are you just Guns N' Roses? Is he?
I go back to the Guns N' Roses, Izzy.
Yeah.
You'll have to tell me more about that. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Well, after he split, he did a album. I think he only did one. Izzy Stradlin and the Juju Hounds. He has one good song. I think it's one good song. It's a remake of Pressure Drop, which is
Okay.
an old reggae song. But then Ronnie Wood did a version of it, so he does a pretty cool version of it. But
Nice.
yeah. All right. Let's
Back to the subject.
let's do it. No, this is all good. I mean, this is all good. Knowing the background, Lori's, coming in, she seems a lot better. But so now we know the makeup of the jury. We know Lori's on some Tylenol for maybe a migraine. Judge Boreski, he's in good voice, and the gallery is full, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was way
Yeah, it was
full.
full.
I think everybody got in though, even with Brandon's family taking up 2 rows,
Mhm.
which would usually, well, there's another, yeah, the gallery was full. It was packed
Okay, cool.
for opening statements. But before we even get to opening statements, Judge asked, is everybody ready for opening statements? And of course, Trina K said yes. And Lori says, Your Honor, I need a sidebar. So they put their headphones on and they have a sidebar. So there's something to do with opening statements, maybe, or with witness cross-examination that she needs to talk about. This is me knowing at the end of the day, looking back on what happened at the beginning of the day.
Right. That's where we came in, was they all had headphones on, and we're like, oh God, sidebar already. So that's when the feed kicked in for us.
Yeah. Lori asked for the sidebar, and then the judge asks if the advisory council has access to email.
Mm-hmm.
Then Mrs. K gets on with an incredible opening statement, at least for the first 15, 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like when she goes, bang, she's telling the story of what happened that day. It got all of our attention in the court. Unfortunately, I happened to be looking down, taking notes right when she did that, and I didn't get to see the jury's reaction.
Mm-hmm.
But I guarantee you I was paying attention to the jury after that, and they were on the edge of their seat for about 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then she started to lose some of them, and she started to drift off a little bit.
Okay.
Let's see, how long did she go? Let's see. So she started at 10:20 with her opening statement, describing the shooting in Gilbert. And I have in my notes, the jury is paying rapt attention. I think I put that in X2. Talks about how Melanie is the only one who knew, which also is interesting when we get to Lori's opening statement and one of the objections to her opening statement. Remember the name Melanie, and I'm sure you guys did plenty of research on that leading up to the trial.
Yes, we did. And we counted the objections as per your request.
I lost track. I couldn't, it's like Too many. I'm going to have somebody else do it. I need an assistant.
Delegate.
Right. But one of the key phrases that I thought she made in her opening statement was that letting Alex take the Jeep to go get the windows tinted was the first act where she made a mistake, and she established premeditation and conspiracy in that one act of letting him go do that. I thought that was a pretty big statement.
Yeah.
And the jury was paying attention at that time. She talks about cell tower locations, burner phones, and a bunch of other stuff. I have in my notes, juror number 9, that's the guy in the top row, far right, Captain Jack, started looking bored at 10:42. So that's 22 minutes in. He starts to get a little bored.
Okay.
Fidgeting, he's taking a drink. And Trina K, I have in my notes, and you guys may have noticed, is stepping towards the microphone as she's describing it. She's stepping back. She's stepping forward. She's stepping back. So her voice gets louder and quieter and louder and quieter. And some of it is inaudible. And it's probably one of those subconscious things that she doesn't know she's doing, but it's kind of distracting too. At least it was for me. It was a little distracting. Didn't take away from what she was bringing forth in the opening arguments, but it was just distracting. I wonder what the jury thought about it. Yeah, at some point in time, jurors 9 and 16 also look bored. Well, juror 9, we're back to juror 9. That's Captain Jack.
I thought I didn't know this about Alex, Homer J. Maximus, Gmail address. He searched shooting ranges, trajectory, 3875 East Phelps Street, which is the location. And then he searched back roads on his way back to Idaho. I didn't know he searched all that. Did you?
I didn't either.
Yeah,
I didn't either.
That was probably I was gonna say that's probably the one thing that I was like, oh, that's probably the one thing I didn't know.
That's pretty damning. That's pretty damning evidence.
Yeah, I
agree. I wonder if he searched it. I wonder if he searched it on his phone, and that's why Lori filed a motion to preclude stuff on his phone. Or right. I wonder if he searched it on his laptop. I don't see Alex as much of a computer guy. I see him more of a searching on his cell phone.
Right. Yeah. No. He doesn't. None of this crew seems like they're very tech savvy in that regard, like how to cover their tracks, if you will.
Oh, they did not.
Yeah. I'm just going through my notes, and I didn't. That was the one thing that jumped out at me was that aspect. Everything else, I was like, okay, I knew all this other stuff based on the body cam footage of which they do. Well, no, they don't show it, but they play the 911 call, and his testimony at Lori's trial.
Right.
Well, no, he doesn't really. Yeah. No, I guess it's more the body cam. I guess it's the body cam I'm thinking about. So she talked for how long? What was your math on that? How long did Miss K talk? Sorry, you said she started. I'm sorry.
No, she started at 10:20, and actually didn't make my notes in there. Let me see if I put it on Twitter. 10:47. So her opening statement was 27 minutes.
Yeah, that is pretty short. All right, let me jot that down.
She was what? I think she was 45 minutes on her opening, maybe an hour, maybe even an hour on her opening, but 27 this time.
That's pretty well. I was going to say that's short, but think about it. Nobody died, which is thank God. It was only with Charles there was Tylee was there. Of course Lori was there. This one is just kind of cut and dry, where it's an attempted shooting, or it is a shooting. It's an attempted deletion, and it's really just Brandon. We don't know how many people were in that truck. So I can see it being a quicker trial. I can see it being a quicker opening statement. So
yeah, I agree.
The whole thing that Lori told Melanie that Brandon was gay and he hacked her computer. I mean, the poor guy, he's got 4 children. He's being told that he's gay. He's being shot at. His wife won't go with him to go visit, to the memorial or funeral of his grandfather who just had a heart attack and passed away. I mean, his world is just, and then he got emotional at one point. I mean, I just felt, well, I'm jumping ahead, but my heart really goes out to him. He really has gone through a lot,
Yeah, that was tough, and he got emotional on the stand. I mean,
Yeah,
he
that's what I mean. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, this is his third trial telling the same story, basically, or at least testifying against Lori and then Chad. This is the third time. It's like, when will this man have peace? So.
Well, Lori's trying to take it away, and
Yeah.
she gets up to do her little intro. Oh yeah, Salty. Yes,
What did Salty
Trina
say?
K did. They purchased the burner phone at Walmart. So Trina K actually brought that up in her opening statement. She said, his regular cell phone pinged around that Walmart where that burner phone was bought. So it's interesting to me that they didn't find the security footage from that Walmart, because she mentions, cell tower pings, but not, seen on camera, which she does about like the storage unit where they're seen, with that blue Hyundai or the blue Nissan, the Nissan Rogue. Yeah, the Nissan Rogue. Right. Yeah. She mentioned that was seen on camera. She didn't with Walmart. So maybe it was, Walmart didn't have that video anymore from that day when he bought the burner phone, because it was several months later after the incident when they went up to Rexburg and tracked all that stuff down.
Yeah.
All right.
I forgot about that, Sinbad. Yeah. And Brandon had to identify JJ. Then there's that.
Yes.
I forgot about that. On top of everything else, this poor guy then had to go ID. Oh my God. He deserves just some peace. He deserves some peace. So,
well, after this trial, I think he's going to get it. He's got a lot of support. I mean, having 16 members of your family show up to support you has got to be helpful.
Yeah. Yep.
It's got to be encouraging.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, all right. So then defense, how long was Miss Esquire, Daybell Esquire's?
So 11 o'clock is when the state called Brandon Boudreaux. So that's 12 minutes, 13 minutes.
It was pretty quick. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It was pretty quick.
14 at the most, because I have 10:47 is when Trina K wrapped up, and then I have 11:01 is when they called Brandon Boudreaux.
So 48 to 58 is 10, and then another 3. Yeah, say 12, 13 minutes. Okay.
Yep. Which is not quite as long as the first one either. But she got objected to multiple times.
I think we counted 11. I think we got 11 objections. Yeah. One was argument in an opening, improper. She talks about
she talks about conspiracy in the Bible. Yeah. And I'm like, are you saying that that's an excuse? Because she just mentions 2 parts of the Bible that mention conspiracy. So because conspiracy, well, there are a bunch of other horrible things that are in the Bible too. That just because they're in the Bible doesn't mean, I mean, gosh, I don't understand that logic, but that's one of many times.
Yep. Was anything jump out at you? I have a lot of notes, but we certainly don't have to read through every single one. Was there anything in specific that jumped out at you? Anything new that you heard?
No, I thought okay, the body language of the jurors changed after a few minutes into her opening statement / arguments. People started to sit back a little bit. A couple of them folded their arms, and some of them had their head down like this, like, are you serious? The one gal in the middle of the front row, though, was sitting up like this with her chin up and paying attention to her. She's got darker hair, younger, maybe 30-ish. She was paying more attention, and she had her chin up and not down, which is an indication of any number of things. I don't know what's going on in her head, and I'm not a body language expert, but it was more of a positive response than the people who sat back, folded their arms, and put their head down.
Right.
Which was
Right.
a few of them, a handful of them had different body language. And then when we got through like half of the objections, then you could tell that, well, first of all, you can tell that Judge Baraski has educated them on not showing facial expressions in the jury box, because that can be a bad thing. And actually, I've seen jurors admonished for that. Like, I think that went on in the Karen Reed case. I think jurors got in trouble for having too much reaction in the juror box.
Yes, they did.
Box.
Yep.
So they're trying really hard not to show too much facial reaction, but you could tell after their body language changed again, a few of them after about half of the objections, and then after the other half of the objections, they were paying attention to those too. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they, because there are two trains of thoughts. From that, you can either think that the state is bullying a witness who is a defendant who is defending herself and is not an attorney, or you can think this gal is just not all that versed and she maybe shouldn't be representing herself. I mean, that's about the two ways you can go with that.
Right. Her ending, I thought, was really nauseating. With, what benefit was there? What malice? I love all people, including the state prosecutor. That got objected to, and then she says, "I will continue to spread love after this."
Yes, she said, "I'm all about spreading love, and I will continue to do so after this trial."
Yeah, like, to me, that was just like, dude, really? It's like, how did you react to that?
If this is her version of spreading love, then I want to be as far away from her as possible.
Yeah. That was just, I can only imagine everybody that loved Tammy, JJ, Tylee, Charles just was like, "Are you kidding me? This is you spreading love?"
Right. Yeah. And one of the other big statements in there that got my attention that was objected to, and I think officially stricken from the record, but it's in my head, and the jurors heard it too. And sometimes as a juror, you can't unhear that. You can't unring the bell.
Yeah.
That Melanie Boudreaux was listed by the state as a co-conspirator, but has never been charged.
Yes, she said that. That was Lori said that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And Trina Kay objected to it and said, move to have stricken. And I don't remember if the judge said, yeah, that should be stricken from the record. No, what he said was, "Jurors, I will talk to you later about this, and I will give you instructions on how to handle this type of a situation with." And then later on, he said, "Opening statements are not evidence. They're not testimony.
Yep.
They're just opening statements."
I think he said that often. I feel like he said he would give them instructions often, meaning there was at least 3 or 4 objections that he said, "I'll give you instructions on that."
Yes.
Yeah. Because we're going to hear Melanie Boudreaux's name. Melanie, we're going to hear her name. Well, we already have heard her name a lot, so we will probably continue to hear her name. So it's going to be like same with Al. Well, I was going to say same with Alex, but Lori already said he's not going to testify because he passed away. So she's already said that.
Who was that about?
Lori said that about Alex. She said, "We're not going to hear from Alex. Was a comedian. Brandon and Alex had a great relationship until this. Alex was a comedian. He passed away, so he won't be here."
I missed that.
That was objected to.
Yeah.
That was objected to. Yep. Yeah. So that's out there. And then right after that, several co-conspirators. I'm the only one charged with this crime. That must have been when she mentioned Melanie's name. That was objected to. That's bordering on argument. Yeah. So those two were right next to each other. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She's just letting it fly.
Yeah, she is. She's going to try and get away with as much as she can.
Yep. Yeah. From natural causes. Yeah.
Yeah. Did she say that she passed away of natural causes?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. That's what Lily Wen just said.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. How did I miss that? Probably because my brain is distracted in 3 different directions.
Yeah. Well, she was talking fairly quickly, but not. not so fast that I wasn't able to get most stuff down. But I found this her questioning of during cross, I was able to get a lot better notes. Excuse me. Whereas the first time she was just like boom, boom, boom. She was just firing off questions. I thought that this go around she was talking a little bit slower. So
Right. It's because she has a headache, I'm sure.
right. All right. So after so opening statements. Who was up first?
The victim himself, Brandon Boudreaux.
Yeah. How did the jury react when they heard his name called?
No reaction.
Yeah.
No reaction.
Yeah. Did you think he was going to be first? Like, what did the gallery think?
I had no idea. There was actually some discussion about that if she would go, actually in the media pool, if she would go the way she did last time, where she brings in the first responders to the scene and then goes through them pretty much in order, and then the investigation after that, and then the text. And she didn't do that, but that's only because he's the only surviving victim that we know of.
Do you agree with that tactic, that strategic play, if you will?
I do, because she probably attorneys, prosecutors, and defense attorneys have to be careful about not coaching their witnesses. So that's why they do depositions, and he just, when he did his deposition, he probably was a pretty strong witness. She felt like he was strong, and she's like, he's going first. He's got a story to tell, and it's impactful, and it will back up my strong opening statement about what happened that day. I mean, the bang is still, ringing in the jurors' ears. If you bring him in last, then that bang that she did in opening statements is a lot weaker, a week down the road.
Right. Yeah, let's get sympathy for the victim straight out of the gates. I can agree with that. For sure, I can see that.
Yeah, and the way she did her opening statement was like a story. So this is starting off the story, right away. She kind of did his testimony that way too. She went back to his relationship with the Cox family, and how much time they spent together, with the Cox family. She asked him if he knew Chad Daybell. And then she started going to the decline of the marriage with Melanie. Do you have anything that you want to put in between that?
Between becoming aware of Chad and then the...
No, before Chad.
Before Chad?
Did he know about Chad when he had that big argument? I don't think he knew about Chad when they had that big argument, when he and Melanie had the big argument about getting the temple recommend removed and hacking Lori's laptop and being gay and all that stuff. When they had that argument, I don't think he knew about Chad, but Trina asked him specifically, did you know about Chad Daybell? That was like one of the specific questions at that time. So I don't think he did when they had that argument that night, that he said went on and on and on.
Right. I would concur with you on that. All I have is didn't know Chad, but became aware later in their marriage. So they had that big blowout on June 25th, and then they start to get divorce proceedings. July, they began their divorce proceedings. So maybe that's when he became aware of, well, Charles was shot in July. So
right, and that's when Lori accused him of hacking into her computer.
Right.
Was in July.
So maybe when he says later in their marriage, they were already in the process of getting divorced by the time he probably heard about Chad, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, hold on. When Charles found out about Chad, did he notify? So he notified Adam. Didn't he also notify? Didn't he also notify Brandon?
Yeah. They were definitely talking. Yeah.
Yep. So that was early July.
You're right. Yep. Yeah, they were definitely talking. All right. So yeah. So he knew. Yeah, you're right. Charles told Brandon before he got shot. Yeah. Okay.
And that's when, so this all happened like within a very short time span before Charles got shot, where Lori's getting her temple recommend taken away, and Brandon, Charles, and Adam are all in on it. And also Lori is telling Melanie that he's gay and that he hacked her computer and whatever else lie she was spreading to, to get Melanie on her side. And that's what led to their divorce. And that's why he was emotional on the stand today, because he texted her. That's when she brings up the texts, and he texted her and he's like, this isn't true. Why are you doing this? You need to fix this. And I'm going to get to the bottom of the truth. And she did not return a single one of those texts. So it's toxic at that point. And he's dark, right? Isn't he dark at that point? Brandon becomes dark at that point, somewhere in those few days.
That I don't know specifically, but sure. I mean, yeah, why not? Everybody became dark at that point to them. Yeah, I don't know the exact timing with that. Well, she was going to these fireside meetings, right? Is that
right? Yes.
Is that when that was kind of, they were on the outs already, right? So
right. And during one of those times that fall was when Chad did come into town, and Melanie and Janelle Murphy picked him up at the airport and took him over to Lori's house when Charles was out of town.
Yep. Yeah.
What a mess. And Ms. K, Trina K, did a really good job of sorting it out and explaining it in a manner that I think the jury can make sense of. And that she's got receipts for all of the things that she mentioned in her opening statements. She's got those cell phone pings near the Walmart. She's got the texts. Yeah, she's got receipts for all the things that she brought up in opening. And if she does, Lori doesn't have a defense, and she didn't present one in her opening statement.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Ms. K is not going to say something that she's not going to be able to back up, as you say, bringing receipts, because she's a professional. I mean, she's been doing this. She knows what she's doing.
Well, I think at times she takes advantage of Lori's ignorance in the law. I really do. Like, she asked so many leading questions in the first trial, but if you're your own attorney, then it's up to you to object to those leading questions. Objection leading, objection leading, objection leading. And she did not one single time object on those grounds. And I'm just an amateur, but I know for a fact, and I also watched some of Defense Diaries review of the first trial, and he got frustrated with how many times the prosecutor, because he's a defense attorney.
Yeah,
he got frustrated with how many times Trina K was leading witnesses.
Yeah,
like today, she asked him about. She asked Brandon about. No, she asked one of the detectives or the sergeant about somebody that he interviewed, and he said the wrong name, and she goes, "Don't you mean Hannah?" Oh, that's Ian Pulowski's sister.
Yep.
And I'm like, objection, leading.
Yeah. Our chat was saying that a lot. Like, are you kidding? This is leading all over the place. But Lori's not objecting, and Judge Boreski's like, I'm not going to object for you. So, and then people were saying, you think she would have learned, how to identify when Trina is leading a witness or not? But she sounds defeated to me. Like, are you getting that from Lori? She just sounds defeated.
I'm not personally. I've heard that from a lot of people. A lot of people actually use that exact same word. I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Because she's the kind of person. The only thing that kind of changed my mind about that was today when she showed up to court without a forcible transport order. She did give up on that. So she got defeated in that. She's like, all right, I'll stop it. Like, a person that had fighted him would do it every single day and make Judge Boreski do a forcible transport order every single day. And she is the bringer of chaos, but she didn't. She gave up on that.
Right. Got a little man there. Little man may want to go out. I got a little man over here may want to go out.
Gotcha.
So I'll let him meow a couple more times. All right. I'll be back in. Well, I'll be here. I'm just going to let him out.
Okay. So let's see. Let me look at my notes. So we got through the relationship with the Cox family, the big fight, the decline in their marriage, the accusations, and this I thought was interesting that Melanie told Brandon that God told her that he was gay, and then we learned that Lori was also that God also told Lori that Charles was gay.
Right.
There were a lot of consistencies in their manipulation.
Yep.
Then she starts getting into LDS, the Mormon Church. She asks, "Were you practicing Mormon? You and Melanie?" Yeah, we were. We're the Cox family, as far as I know. Did you think that Lori was involved in the accusations? Okay, we're getting to the text messages now. When he texted, he said, I have in my notes that he texted both Lori and Charles, but I think we only got to see his text to Lori. I don't think we saw any text to Charles.
No, we did not, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I actually have a text to Melanie, but so there was a text to Lori as well. I don't have that. I have there was a 7:40 text to Melanie. Be there in a minute. Oh, when he's dropping off his child. So that's what that was. But you're talking about a different text. I'm talking about
I'm talking about in the middle of their argument. So
Gotcha.
Their argument is like in two parts, and in the middle of it, he has to take a break. But the first part of that is when she accuses him of trying to have Lori's temple recommend taken away. And then the second part, she accuses him of the other things, hacking the computer, being gay. And that's, I think, when he texts Lori and says, "Why are you doing this? This is, this is going to be the end of my," and he's thinking and he's getting emotional on the stand. This is my family. This is my kids. And the kids are going to suffer from this. The kids are going to get hurt because of what you're doing. And that's kind of making me a little bit emotional because divorce is tough, and divorce over lies like that is just ridiculous. And the kids do suffer. And remember, somewhere down the road, two of Brandon and Melanie's kids get determined to be dark, and Melanie shows up at two different people's houses to try and take the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Those kids are so lucky. Those kids are so lucky.
Yeah. Lucky that they had a good, strong support system and a smart dad to go into hiding, and for the most part, put the kids in hiding too, while this craziness was going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so right after the fight, during the fight, were his text to Lori, and then she starts going into the divorce. They had a mediator, sell the house, figure out a shared schedule with the kids, shared custody with the kids. So they sold the family home
for $1 million. It was listed for $1 million.
Yeah.
Ooh. Good on them.
Well, here's something that I had in my notes. The house was scheduled for closing and closed on October 1st. The shooting happened on October 2nd.
Right. I didn't know it closed. I'm going to add that it closed on October 1st. I didn't know that.
Yes. Yep. He signed his lease on the new place on September 23rd, yes. But he was still living at the other house. But then Melanie was going to go out of town, so she arranged to drop off the kids early. So he made arrangements to move into the house early, before he got out of the house. Because that 1 week, between September 3rd and October 1st, I think he was still going to be staying at the other house until it closed or moving. If you have enough stuff, it takes a full week to move or more.
Especially for a house, if it's listing for $1 million, I'm assuming it's probably 4 or 5 bedroom or something. It's got to be a big house.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that the only people that knew his address, besides his friends that helped him move, was Melanie, Alex, and Lori. Those were the only people that knew the address.
He
So
did. He didn't tell Melanie and Alex. So
right,
where did they get the address?
where did they get it? Yeah,
Yeah. So two friends and two neighbors knew his
hmm
address,
right,
obviously, because his two neighbors live right next to his house. They're
yeah,
going to know his address. But yeah, outside of those two neighbors, his two friends that helped him move in were the only
hmm
ones who knew about the address. And she made a point later that I'm going to bring up. Oh,
hmm
actually, that's right now in my notes. Um, that's right now in my notes.
okay,
So Ms. K asked him if those four people knew Lori or Alex. So
hmm
did your two neighbors know Lori at the time Vallow or Alex and Alex Cox? And he says no. And then she goes, so do your two neighbors know Lori Vallow or Alex Cox? No. How does he know if they knew them or not?
hmm
So there should have been an objection, speculation, or there should have been some kind of an objection there. If I guarantee you, any type of a halfway competent defense attorney would have objected to that question. You're
yeah,
asking him to know what other people know, to be able
right,
to testify factually and clearly about what other people know.
right, yeah, good point.
Another
But
missed opportunity for her.
yep, that got in, that got through.
Um, all right, hold on one second. I got to switch tabs. I got to check on my
Mhm.
chat. Oh, Janelle Murphy is in the chat. That's a good. Do you have the ability to pull up her latest comment? That's a
This
good.
one,
Yep.
Lori was telling Zulima to move to Idaho. Lori said that Melanie would have some money, I think either by the death of Brandon or on the sale of their home.
Yep. Or both. She would have
Or
way
both, yeah.
more if it was both.
Yeah, I thought it was the insurance. I didn't realize they sold it for $1 million. I had no idea that happened. I thought it was just all about the insurance money, but clearly there was something more.
Right. And you would think, okay, you would think that the police would know about that too when they're doing their investigation. And
Mhm.
also you would think that the mediation would be a 50-50 split of the family home, right? Like she'd get a half a million and he'd get half a million.
That's what he said. He said it was going to go into one account and then it would be split between the two of them. So he did
Right.
say that. Yeah.
So why kill him then? I mean, for the other half of a million, were they going for the full mill plus his life insurance?
I guess. I mean, that's yeah. They wanted it all, and yeah, and yeah. I just can't. I'm still just trying to wrap my head around why just get rid of all these people. You know.
I, yeah,
You
I
know.
can't. I can't wrap my head around it. We're all
Yeah.
trying to.
Yeah.
All right. So then she gets into his daily routine while he's got the kids, and it's a school day. He's got to wake them all up like one at a time, gradually over an hour and a half, get them fed and clothed and ready to go to school. The youngest doesn't go to school, so he's got to make an arrangement to meet Melanie near her house, but
hmm
she doesn't want him at the house.
hmm
And guess what? Guess why she doesn't want him there? Alex is there.
hmm
So Trina K mentioned that in her opening statement that you will see cell phone pings from Alex's burner phone, around in the area of Melanie's house
hmm
that morning, October 2nd, 2019. So Melanie, and if you're a split household like that with joint custody, that's not unusual though to make arrangements to have an exchange at a neutral place. I mean,
Right.
I
Right.
but knowing that Alex's cell phone pinged there blows
hmm
my mind.
Right.
That morning he was at her house and then he was at his house.
He made it sound like that they did that often, though. That he would park or he would drop off his youngest at a
Yeah,
park, right? He made it sound like it was
right.
they did that often, like it wasn't
Which
so
wouldn't
nefarious.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that, but it
Right?
also makes them easier to plan, saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm going to go meet Brandon over at the park at such and such time."
Mhm.
So he's going to be leaving about 10 minutes before that, or
Right.
5 minutes before that, so you can take off in 5 minutes and be over at his house when he's coming back.
Right. Right.
Which he didn't go back. He went to the
Mhm.
gym.
Right.
And he spent an hour and a half at the gym before he drove home. And
Mhm.
so then she gets into the Tesla. The only key point that really made a difference to me in that about a Tesla was the fact that when you take your foot off of the gas, it's like hitting the brake.
I had no idea.
I didn't either. Um, Teslas are fast too. They're quick. Like when he hit that gas to get away from his house, I
Mhm.
mean, he testified that his cell phone flew back, and there are some serious G's from most Teslas. I mean, there are different models, and different models have different acceleration rates, but a
Right.
lot of Teslas have a pretty good acceleration rate, um, which is why it took a while for that Jeep Wrangler to catch up with him.
Mhm. Right.
um, let's see. Then they took a look at the driver's side door after the shooting. She showed pictures of the driver's side door right after this.
Mhm.
And that's all I have in my notes because they were boring to me and they were boring to the jury.
Yeah. Yeah. Photo of cars shown. I was actually, I took a couple photos or took screenshots of the photos that they were showing, and it's pretty. It's pretty intense. You can see it's clearly coming from front to back. So I'm envisioning. So he's pulling up this way. The car's parked here. So it's almost like they're coming straight at each other. It's not like it was like one of these. Like one of those kind of things.
Right.
You
So
know.
was it a bullet hole or was it just a dent in the door?
It was a hole, I believe. I think it went through. I think it went through. Hold on, let me see.
Okay.
Find it again.
I had trouble understanding that because it looks to me like it's a divot. And I think actually one of the witnesses
Uh,
used the word divot.
no, I think it went through. I think it went through.
So it's a hole with a divot. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
That
Yeah, I
makes
don't.
sense.
Yeah.
And that makes
Um,
sense how shards of that would get through into the molding underneath it.
yeah.
Because otherwise, if it was just a divot, then the entire slug would have fallen back out, while he was flying away or whenever. Okay,
hmm
that makes sense now. Um,
Um, yeah, he just kind of goes through what happened, where he coasts in, Jeep is there. It would. I mean, I can understand why he said this is really weird because there's nobody parked on the street. There's just the one white SUV minivan or whatever, and the Jeep is parked literally. He says like bumper to bumper, and the Jeep is right by his driveway. And as he says he's coasting in, he's ready to pull in, and all of a sudden he hears this bang. Well, he actually sees the window roll down, sees the muzzle come out, and hears this bang.
well, not window roll down. The back window of Jeeps flips up.
Oh, is it flip up? Oh,
Yep.
a back window pops up. Right, right. You're right. Back window pops up. Yep.
So if Alex went over there while Brandon and Melanie were doing the kid exchange with the youngin, um, and then Alex went to the gym for an hour to an hour and a half, Alex was sitting there for a good hour in the back of that Jeep going like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he?
Right.
So word of advice, go to the gym often and make those assassins lay in wait a little bit too long for them to take an accurate shot.
right. Yeah. Switch up your regular routine, I guess. Right. That's the takeaway
Yep.
here. Yeah.
Yep. So he noticed that Jeep Wrangler with a Texas plate. He said that specifically, and that was again reiterated in the 911 call. So
hmm
I thought, did he remember that later and tell it to the police later? No, he said it during the 911 call. It had a Texas plate.
hmm
Um, so that's accurate testimony with no spare tire,
Right.
nose to the van, and almost blocking his driveway.
hmm
Um,
Yeah,
then
I
the
would,
back window. Go
I would
ahead.
definitely notice that. I'd say I would definitely notice that if I'm pulling up. I would definitely
Well,
notice that.
especially since we heard from the neighbor later, and we heard
Hmm.
from the landlord that it's a quiet neighborhood with very
Hmm.
little trouble, and it's
Hmm.
not a through street. It's definitely a side street.
Hmm.
It's there's nobody driving through it to get quicker from point A to point B going through down a little side street. So there's not a whole lot of traffic, and there's not a whole lot of strange cars that usually end up there.
Hmm.
So yeah, he noticed it, even though he'd only been there for a short time. He's like, he'd seen the white van there a few times, but he'd never seen the Jeep. He thought maybe the Jeep was a new neighbor or somebody parking somewhere they didn't usually park. But to have it, so to be nose to nose with the van, then it had to be parked on the wrong side of the street. And you
Hmm.
could actually get a ticket for that in most jurisdictions. You're not
Hmm.
supposed to park the opposite way on the side of the street. So
Right.
that's all noteworthy things, all things that are going through your mind. And he said it happened so fast that it's just like boom, 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 Texas
Right.
plate, window opens, barrel of a rifle, apparently a barrel of a rifle sticks out, and you hear a bang, and then your window shatters and you hit the
Hmm.
gas just
Yeah.
like that. And then he has a panic attack. It's funny. He described it on the stand. He's like, I don't think we have a term for that. I was breathing really hard, couldn't catch my breath. I'm like, dude, you were having a panic attack. There's a word for that, and there's probably
Yeah.
other words for that too.
Yeah, yeah. You just got shot at. That bullet literally like missed your head or whatever by inches. Yeah.
Um, and so okay, so I have noted in my notes that this part of his story, the jury once again starts paying close attention to. Like all of them are raptly paying attention to this story. I mean, because it's a larger than life story. I mean,
Yeah.
who hears about this kind of thing? So they're hearing about this for the first time,
Hmm.
and they're sitting on the edge of their seats, not literally, but their heads are all over there looking at him. And even juror number 9 is paying attention on this one.
Hmm. Yes. Janelle remind us that yes, he did see something. The barrel had something he thought like a silencer or a something unusual because he's been around guns. He says his family hunts, but he does not. But yeah, he said it looked like a silencer or some kind of suppressor. So yeah, it wasn't just a straight up barrel with a sight on the end. It had some kind of something else. I mean, he saw a lot in the span of having your life flash in front of you and getting shot at. He saw a lot. So I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah, he noticed a lot. I
He
mean,
noticed a lot. Yeah.
he got so Lori made a big deal of the fact that he got the color of the Jeep slightly wrong in her
Hmm.
opening statements. And I'm like, do you know how many things that eyewitnesses get wrong in the initial moments after something like this? And the
Hmm.
number of things that he got right were confirmed by the detectives and the
Yep.
sergeant that testified later. They were like, the evidence that we saw were consistent with his statement, but they
Hmm.
were also consistent with this having been, a projectile fired through the top of his car door.
Yeah.
Um, so, what do I have on my notes next? Jury's paying attention. Yeah, then we go to lunch, and then I have another note about juror number 5 after we get back from lunch. That's
Okay.
pretty
Well,
funny.
before that, I have about Trina says it's going to be about 30 to 45 minutes, and Judge asks about obtaining documents from the investigator. Lori says, I can't personally talk to him during lunch. They've emailed him, but no response. And we hear later that she's been trying to call this investigator. She's been trying to email him. And we're like, Lori,
Yep.
he knows you're going to trial. Why is he ghosting you? Why is this investigator who has all the documents on Brandon Boudreaux for your cross? Where is he? So what did you
Yeah,
what
especially when he's been there with her for several pretrial hearings and this. And even at the May 14th hearing, he wasn't even supposed to sit at the table with her without asking the judge for permission first. And he
yeah.
just walked in there and sat down next to her, which is a violation of court decorum. But the judge allowed it anyway, and he brought it up at the end because that's the one where she said, "You never grant any of my motions." And he's like, "I've been over accommodating of you, including what happened today with your investigator sitting here." And Jeff White was sitting right there to hear that. So he's like, "I don't want any part of Judge B anymore. Call me all you want." All right. So, so the last thing we do before lunch is she pulls up maps to show the house and surrounding streets and Brandon's path of travel. He came in one street and then he turned the corner, and that's when he got shot at as he was approaching his driveway. Here's the shot, hits the accelerator, and then picks his phone back up and calls 911. As he's still going down the street, gets to the end of the street, turns right and goes up by the community pool, but stays parallel to the street. That's the thing that I didn't understand at first, because later on we'll hear about a U-turn.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he pulled like into like the parking lot of the community pool. Like he took a right turn and he was looking, south towards where that Jeep Wrangler might be coming from if it was going to follow him.
Right.
But he wasn't. He was pointing north towards the adjacent street. So when that Jeep Wrangler comes up behind him, notices his car is sitting right there next to the pool, Alex is like, "Oh shit, maybe he has a gun in his car," and takes a right turn and goes back down around the south entrance to the subdivision. Mm-hmm. That's what I think may have happened. Alex turned chicken when he saw that Tesla sitting there and doesn't know what's going to happen, because that was the outlet plan. If Alex is facing west on Phelps Street and goes up to the intersection, takes a right turn, he's back on that main road and he's out of town. But he made that right turn on, was it Cole Street or Cope Street?
I don't know. I didn't catch the names.
Yeah. And he gets up close to that pool. He sees that Tesla there. He makes a right turn and comes back out the way that he came in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, I thought Chad was driving. Isn't that the whole point? Alex was the shooter. Chad was driving.
Well, there are multiple theories about that.
Right.
And there supposedly is a statement from a neighbor out there, and it's not the neighbor we heard from today because we didn't hear that testimony today. So I'm wondering what neighbor it was that said they saw that seat pushed all the way back. And I'm kind of wondering how they did that, if there were tinted windows.
Yeah. So dark that you couldn't see in.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that report came from, but that's one of the theories, that Alex actually did jump back over the driver's seat and it was just him by himself and he took off. There's actually theories that other parties, like maybe Melanie, might have been driving the Jeep. I don't know that I believe that. No, because she had his youngest kid. She's not driving the Jeep.
No.
Maybe Zulema. Maybe I heard Zulema was driving it. Anyway, or Chad, Zulema or Chad, or Alex by himself are the theories that I've heard. But he said he didn't see how many people were in there and who was driving. He testified to that on the stand. He couldn't tell.
Right.
So,
but he also testified that he thought there was at least more than one, because he couldn't figure out how somebody could shoot and then drive away that quickly.
Right. Which is where the seat laying back theory comes in, because he lays the seat all the way back, so it's easier to jump over it and get back in the driver's seat of his Jeep Wrangler, or actually Tylee's Jeep Wrangler. Yeah. If you want to be technical about it.
Right.
Was the driver window down? I would have to see somebody who reported that the driver window was down, Salty. That's probably part of that theory. I need more receipts on that theory. I still haven't been able to find it. I think that's Salty's theory that the neighbor saw the seat back, and that would explain how Alex could get back up in the driver's seat so fast. But that was exactly Brandon's testimony today. He doesn't know how many people were in there and how many people were involved. He just thought logically that one person couldn't do both at the, so quickly.
Right. And Sinbad saying Chad was in Idaho. Tammy was still alive then. The back seat was in the storage unit, which we know with the tire, which we know. But I'm just wondering how quickly you can shoot and then, yeah. I always thought there were two, and then hearing Brandon say he thought there were two, I'm just going with that theory. But I guess we have to hear from that neighbor still, right?
Well, yes, we do. We do need to hear about that neighbor that said that he saw the seat back. He or she saw the seat back.
Right.
But the other thing that was brought up today was, in his mind, it happened so quickly, and that's how he came to the theory. But when you listen to the 911 call, there's actually a significant amount of time between when he pulls over next to the pool and when he sees that Jeep Wrangler coming up behind him. Okay. It is a significant amount of time, and I need that 911 call so I can clock exactly what that amount of time is. Because I'm thinking like 30 seconds, 40 seconds.
Right.
Which might be enough time for somebody to skedaddle over the driver's side in the Jeep and after laying in the back.
Do you want us to play it? Because they played it.
Yeah.
Let's see. We could play it.
All right. I'll get my timer out.
All right, hold on. Let's see. All right, hold on. Trying to think when it was played. Let's see here.
Right before lunch, or was it? Actually, do I have it in my notes? I do have 911 call is played in my notes somewhere.
Called 911 right after. Yeah, I have it here too. Let's see. 911. Okay, so photo of bullet is shown. 911 is called. Seems like it's okay. I have it.
Okay, so I have 1010 is the jury returns. That can't be 1010. That's got to be 110. Is that out of order? Good grief. Take better notes, man. I'm talking to myself. I said Lori, I have in my notes, Lori apparently filed a 10-1 motion over lunch, and then 10-10 the jury returns. That's got to be 110. So it's a little bit after 110. So just after lunch. And I almost want to do a recreation. I've got a Jeep Wrangler JKU, which is a 4-door, so I can't do an accurate a recreation, but I'm sure people know somebody out there with a 2018 Wrangler JK 2-door, which is what Titan's was.
You know what? Instead of, I'll find it for tomorrow.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, there you go. We got all kinds of conspiracy theories, and we got lots of stuff to still talk about today.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. That'll be something to look forward to tomorrow.
Yeah. Another rabbit hole. Come back tomorrow, people.
Exactly.
So we see the maps, we see the travel paths, and then judge says, okay, it's afternoon. We're going to let the jury break for lunch. Come back at 1 o'clock, he says. So a 1 hour lunch break, and we're not used to that from him. Usually he's a 1.5 hour lunch break kind of guy.
All right.
So for us people in the media who want to do like a lunch live update, which I'm trying to do every day, today's was not as good as yesterday's because I didn't have as much time because of this. Because when we got out of the gallery, the court security guy, the guy who's in charge of court security and getting the public in and out of there, and the media in and out of there. He's more the public guy. Vince is the media guy. Vince wasn't there today, so the media we managed ourselves. We did a good job. Says we need to have. He gets everybody's attention. Says I need to have everybody seated by 12:50.
Okay.
So that's 10 minutes early. So that cuts our. Well, there was wasn't there something that went on before lunch?
Yeah. Wait.
Lori confers with her advisory council about some documents she apparently requested and hasn't received yet. So what do you have in your notes after that? Because that's all I have.
Judge asked about obtaining documents from her investigator, and Lori says, I can't personally talk to him during lunch. And then the judge, or Lori says, they've emailed him, but no response. That's what I was teasing earlier about. This investigator is like ghosting her because she's saying she's trying to get a hold of him. She's trying to call him. She's trying to email him, and he's not responding. So that took just like maybe a minute or two to get through. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, but when you're already at 12:02 and we're sitting in there as the media and the public, like hanging on every word of what they're saying because they're not on the record and they're not saying it very loud, and we have to like listen really hard.
Right.
Then you're out of there like 3-4 minutes after the jury, which was 12:02. So now it's 12:05, and now you have to be back at 12:45. So you have a 40-minute lunch. But then think about this. If you're doing a live stream and people are watching the trial, they're on a 30-minute delay. So your 40 minutes just became 10 minutes.
Right.
And that includes not just doing a live, but eating. So you use that 30-minute gap to eat, which I did today, but I didn't take the full 30-minute delay. So I didn't have that many people in my little lunchtime live because I went before the half-hour delay was up. So people are still watching the trial on another channel and they don't want spoilers. So that's okay. I understand that. We'll figure out a rhythm I'll figure out a way to get it done. But then you don't want to make a mistake and like get caught in some type of a situation. Like, there's all of a sudden a line, or there's a problem with security, or the elevators get stuck or something and you can't get up there in time and get in for the, after lunch. So all those things are just going through your mind, and you're like, I'm the type of person that likes to be up there early just to make sure that what I need to do gets done.
Right. I just see people are asking why are we not getting to questions? We'll get to them at the end, unless you want to answer some questions now, Joe. It's up to you. Do you want to just keep going on? Maybe your questions.
Yeah, we're on a lunch break. We can take some questions on our lunch break here.
All right, let's take some questions here. Actually, we're kind of at this point. JWD, does anyone know why Lori didn't question Brandon? We're kind of right at that point. Do you want to answer the question, or shall I?
Yeah, so she wasn't prepared. So apparently some of these documents that her private investigator was supposed to be providing to her weren't provided to her in a timely fashion or at all to this point. So she felt like she wasn't prepared, and the judge, out of an abundance of caution and preserving appellate issues, granted her the ability to get those documents overnight and cross-examine him tomorrow. So that means he has to get back on the stand tomorrow. He couldn't wrap up his testimony today and just sit in the gallery for the rest of the trial. He's got to get back on the stand tomorrow, which makes you wonder, is it some type of a power play? Is it just head games?
Yeah.
But, I mean,
why would the investigator has the whole file on Brandon? So why wouldn't her advisory council have this? Why would the investigator have the whole file on Brandon?
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the whole file. I think it's certain documents, but maybe it is. I don't know. I'm speaking just on common sense, and sometimes common sense doesn't apply in this.
Right. Let's see. What else? Janelle asks, how do you think Lori did on her opening statement?
I think she lost the jury by the end of it just because she's so rambling and she didn't really make any clear, concise legal arguments.
Mm-hmm.
She just made she tossed a lot of softballs at them, and they're like, I see that coming from a mile away, and it's not impacting me. That's how I felt watching it. I mean, I thought she talked normally, she walked normally, she stood fairly normally at that lectern. When she went over to the other one, she didn't stand normally.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, but besides that, I don't think she made much of an impact with him, at least not anywhere near the one that Trina K did.
Yeah. Yeah, she didn't move the needle for me at all. I wasn't like, oh, wow, I'm interested to hear what you have to say. To me, it was more like she was testifying versus just doing an opening statement,
Yeah.
Baca asks, does Brandon have children with his wife?
I don't know. I have no idea. So I'm sure somebody else in chat knows that, but
I know the answer to that. He married Jenny June 11th of 2020, and he has Avery and Logan along with his other 4 children. So apparently they have 2 kids as of, this was from his Facebook page. So I'm basing that off of that.
So I'm also assuming that he has to, because of the divorce decree that was eventually arrived at through the mediator. I'm assuming he still has to share custody of the children with Melanie.
Wouldn't you assume so? That?
Yeah,
yeah, I would think so. Unless something else unless they've worked out something else, I guess that would be between the 2 of them. They'd have to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
This is a great question because a lot of people are asking this. JWD, why wasn't Melanie ever charged? I mean, if anyone knew where Brandon lived, it was her, and if anyone knew his coming and going, it was her. So why just Lori? What do you think about that?
That's an absolutely valid question that a lot of us have.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just if anyone knew where Brandon lived, it was her. She did know. We saw the text messages today where she said, "Can I have your address?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, we have to work things out with the kids. So yeah, you can have my address." But she was the only one besides those 4 people that had it, until one would assume that she gave it to Melanie and Alex. And why would she do that when they're all the way up in Rexburg? Why would they need to know his address? Right. So yeah, that's part of the conspiracy. And that's why the state has labeled her a co-conspirator, and why in the heck she hasn't been charged as a co-conspirator. Even Lori wonders that. Lori wondered that in her opening statement.
Right. Sherry M asks, do you think because Rachel Smith suggested that is the reason she called him?
I don't understand that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Do you think because Rachel Smith suggested? Sherry M, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. If you could give us another.
Who did? She called somebody as a defense witness?
Rachel Smith suggested that's the reason she called him.
Oh, so maybe she's saying Rachel Smith suggested to call Brandon first, probably. That's what.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. Okay, yeah, sorry, that's from 9:52. That's like a half hour ago.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah. Colleen is so she's looking for a mistrial if she never gets her file from her investigator because he's ghosting her. Who knows what game she's playing, to be quite honest. But she could fall back on that, right? She could say, "Hey, I kept requesting these files. And there will be no cross because I couldn't get these files.
So I didn't have my day in court, right? Literally." Yeah, and we're gonna find out that she's filed another motion when we come back from lunch.
Right. Eliza says, thanks for the inside take with $1.99. Do you have Venmo? Joe, do you have a Venmo? We have a Venmo. Do you have Venmo, Joe?
I don't have a Venmo.
Okay.
Dizzy, you and I got to work on that.
How else can we give you money other than super chats and memberships?
No way yet. We'll
Oh,
work
yeah.
on it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
We're still growing.
Gotcha. What was the date on the plane ticket receipt for Melanie? I know the answer to that. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that because I wrote that down. So 0, we will get to that answer. Let's see. Sinbad says, Joe, who is her witness that she sent the subpoena to a UPS store? Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. So I posted this morning in the middle of all of these other posts, the subpoenas that she sent out on to a process server who attempted them on May 3 times each for all of the defense witnesses, May 30th, May 31st, and June 1st. So those are all on Twitter from this morning on X. I keep calling it Twitter. I'm so old. That's old. But the one that was at the UPS store was Lonnie Dworkin, her expert witness. Lonnie Dworkin is her cell phone expert witness. That's supposed to be opposite of Nick Balance for the state. And she tried to serve a subpoena on him. And his address was at a UPS store. So,
was it like a PO box? If
probably,
you will?
Yeah, probably like a PO box.
Yeah.
I've got one of those. Yeah.
He's not going to give out his address to Lori. He's just going to.
Right.
Yeah. Here's two. We'll do one more question. Actually, this is two in one. It's from two different people, but it's pretty much the same question. So Sherry M is asking you, why do you think Melanie has not been charged? And Madly in Love with Jesus says, isn't Melanie implicated in this trial? Couldn't this be an opening for Melanie to be tried in the future? So it's kind of the same. Why is Melanie not? Well, we know she's a co-conspirator, as Lori told us. So we've kind of talked about it, but specifically, Joe, why do you think they have not?
I have no freaking idea. I mean, that's prosecutors make those decisions all the time, and we don't know all of the things that they have to consider. So I'm going to Google something real quick. The statute of limitations on conspiracy to commit first degree murder. Mr. Google, help me out. In most states, conspiracy to commit murder has a statute of limitation of 10 years.
Okay.
So this was 2019, and we're in 2025. So they still have a little bit of time. They can still do it.
Yep. Pretty much coming up on 6 years because it was October. So pretty much, 6 years ago. You saw the witness list. Kikaru asks, will prosecution bring Melanie in? And then also, go ahead. Is Melanie on the witness list?
Let me pull up the witness list real quick. Yeah. This is the prosecution. Got to go back to that. Click. All the clicking. I don't remember seeing it, and now I'm looking at the list for civilians. Nope, she's not on the list.
So she's not. Okay.
Not for the prosecution.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know what? Lori didn't put her on her list either. How interesting is that? Because we know where Melanie is. I literally have the address where Melanie and Ian live right now. So should not be hard to serve them with the subpoena. Either one of them.
Yeah. I that is interesting. I'm kind of surprised that she's not going to make an appearance. Well, we know Lori with her subpoenas, she just never gets them out in time or whatever. But I thought the state would. I thought Trina would bring her in. I guess as a hostile witness. Right? I don't think she'd be.
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the trial's starting. Trial was scheduled to start we're on Thursday the 2nd. So Monday the 2nd. And she's having the process server serve subpoenas on May 30, 31, and June 1. Like right at the beginning of trial. That I don't think that complies with the rules of evidence and procedure.
I think it's 30 days, I thought.
I thought so too.
I thought that's what I heard. Yeah,
I'm
during
not a
Charles.
lawyer.
Yeah, I thought Judge said that when we were doing the pre-trials for Charles's trial. Judge Boreski was saying, yeah, it has to be 30 days. You have to give people 30 days.
Yeah, and I think he mentioned it again in this pretrial hearing, like maybe on May 14th, where when Trina K said, "Yeah, that's a problem," and Judge says, "Yeah, that's a problem."
Yeah, yeah. All right. Shall we get back to? Let's see. They're coming out of lunch. Brandon is
Yep,
still on the stand.
yep, they're coming out of lunch. Oh no, oh no!
What?
I changed my notes. Now I got to go back to the previous page, and I got to
Oh.
restart all over from beginning. Okay, but we do know coming back from lunch. I don't need my notes for this part.
Mm-hmm.
That the judge said, "I understand that there has been a motion filed," and Lori says, "Yeah, I it was supposed to be filed yesterday, but I guess it didn't. So we're going to have to file it. We had to file it today." And I can't remember if she said or if the judge said. Probably the judge said. So it's a 10.1 motion.
Mm-hmm.
And a 10.1 motion, people, if you don't know, and probably most of you do, that is a motion to remove a judge for cause.
Yep. Yep.
So she's doing it again.
Yeah. To which Judge Boreski said that can be sent to the criminal presiding judge, which is, I'm assuming, I didn't catch her name.
Judge Green, probably.
Judge Green. Yep. Yeah, it's
Yep.
probably her. Yep. So
Yeah.
this was also when Lori said she was unable to get a hold of her investigator. He's not answering phones or emails. And she says, I can offer a remedy. And Judge Boreski's like, well, what would that remedy be? And she said, doing cross out of order.
Yep.
To which he said, well, does the state have these documents already marked? And then Lori said, can we do that on a break? And the judge said, we'll have to sort that out. So,
right.
So that's kind of when she's saying, basically, my investigator is ghosting me. So.
Yeah. She has so many problems.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I found my notes. Now I got to scroll down. Doot, 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 doot. Boop, boop, boop. Nope, not that witness. There we go. There's lunch break. There's the 10.1 motion. And then, so she continues with the story about what he did after the shooting. And then she brings in crime scene photos of the street in front of the house. So we get honestly, the photographer that took these pictures is not the best at perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like this police officer needs a little bit of perspective training because they're all just north, south, east, and west. Like every single one of them. Let's get a north or northeast to southwest. Let's get one of those like 45-degree angle shots so we can get a picture of where the Jeep was behind the white van. But no, they're literally all north, south, east, west pictures. Mm-hmm. And I'm having trouble getting an idea. There's cones in the picture. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious about what those cones represent. Because if they're the middle of the Tesla, then he's kind of driving down the left side of the street. But I kind of think they put those to straddle that glass chip that they found on the street, the glass shard.
Brandon,
go ahead.
Sorry, Brandon said they represent the front and the back. So as you're looking at that picture, the one that's furthest away was the front of his car, and the one that's
right. But that doesn't mean front center. That could be front left and
I see what you're saying.
Left. So he's driving. He should be driving down the right side of the street, and those cones are pretty much in the middle of the street or even off to the left side. So I'm saying, but that would make sense if that's where the glass shard was, because those came out of the driver's side window, right? So the shot's taken and it falls to the left. They put the cones there, so that represents the left side of the vehicle, and he was driving down the right side of the street. So many thoughts went through my mind while I'm watching this, and it didn't make sense to me that would be the front middle and the rear middle of the car. Right.
Yeah, he did not say that. He just, it was just the front and the back, representing the front and the back. He did not say, yes, that's, I was driving. It's assumed, I guess it's assumed, that he was driving on the right side. But he was about to pull into his driveway, so...
He could have been turning to the left. Yeah.
Could have been.
But
Could have been. Yeah.
I kind of picture it more based on where the bullet struck, and I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out how Alex missed so badly.
I said the same thing. He's supposed to be like this, not a marksman, but doesn't he go to the shooting range? I said the exact same thing. I'm like, he's supposed to be, and this picture where these cones are, it's like maybe 10 to 15 feet from where that white van is, maybe 20 feet tops. I mean, that's a pretty, and I said this live. I'm like, Brandon, I'm really glad that Alex was such a bad shot because he should have at least should have had. Now, yeah, again, I'm glad Brandon survived, but
Well,
Alex,
but where was he aiming? Because that's the A post of a vehicle. When I was in emergency response, that's the A post of the vehicle. The passenger side is B, and then in the back you have C and D. If you're in the back of that Jeep taking a shot at somebody in a car, why are you aiming for the corner of the vehicle? Like that's a really bad angle. So,
well, they're kind of coming. They're sort of coming at each other too. Like if this is Alex parked here, I mean, they're kind of. He's, Brandon's coming at him again. He's not. It's not like this.
No, but that's a really bad angle for a shot attempt.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know why he didn't hit him in the front window. And again, Brandon, I'm really glad that Alex is such a bad shot because you could have very easily been, shot.
Well, and here's the other thing too. Why not wait till he pulls in the driveway, gets out of the car, and then take a shot?
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking a shot at a moving vehicle. You decrease your chances of a successful strike by 25, 30, 50%. I don't know what the odds are, but I mean, that's just not real smart.
Right. I mean, granted, he's coming to it slow. I mean, it's coming to his driveway, so he's not like going 50 miles an hour, but he's probably going maybe 10, 15 miles an hour, but still. Yeah. Hey, I'm glad for Brandon that
Alex absolutely
did what he did. So, yeah.
I'm glad for Brandon that Alex wasn't all that bright and he wasn't all that great of a shot.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right. I just have Brandon back on the stand. Do you want to pick up from there?
I just noted the crime scene photos were shown. There were a ton of crime scene photos, and we just talked about the highlights. He did say something that was impactful to me, and I honestly think may have been impactful to the jury. He said that when he got back from driving around the block and pulling into his driveway, he noticed the bullet hole, quote unquote, inches from my head. So that was an impactful statement that hit me. Probably at least a couple of the jurors that are like, oh my gosh, yeah, this bullet hit inches from his head. Then I have up next the 911 call. Did you guys get that link from Dizzy?
Oh. Well, I have a link, but is it an actual? Is it queued up and everything?
I don't know.
No, I was going to play. I was going to play our stream, but I just have to find it specifically. Dizzy did not send anything that I can find. Well, I thought we were going to do that tomorrow. Are we going to do it tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, okay. Then I'll just note my notes I'll just talk about my notes from that moment while they're playing the 911 call. So, he testified earlier that his family is hunters. He's actually not that big of a hunter, but he grew up around guns. He knows what guns sound like, and he knows what a gunshot sounds like. But in this 911 call, he said once it might have been a paintball gun, and he said a different separate time, I don't think it was a real gun. So there's a little bit of conflicting information there for me, where he's supposed to be familiar with firearms and the sounds of firearms. And he says twice in a 911 call, I'm not sure it was a real gun or it might've been a paintball gun. That as a juror, I would have been writing that note down, and I didn't write that note down. But I'm not a juror.
Right.
And then, so she's kind of aware of this. So Ms. K asked him some leading questions. Like, why would you say that's a paintball gun? Did you notice any paint on your car? So it couldn't have been a paintball gun, right? And he's like, no, paintballs leave paint, in their wake. That's why they call it paintball. So, but just because, anyway, I'm not going to get into that, but I didn't think that was a real strong get ahead of it by Trina K. And a good defense attorney would be able to wedge into that and like turn that into something for the jury to think about. And keep in mind, I said a good defense attorney. So this is when he says he thinks there were probably two people in the Jeep, but he did that because of the amount of time, how quick it was between when he was shot at and when the Jeep Wrangler was where he was at. And then he said, well, listening back to the 911 call, it was longer than I imagined in the moment. And I can totally picture that. That sounds totally reasonable, but that also means it could have been just one person in the Jeep.
Right. I was able to, I have the 911 call. Do you want to listen to it now, or do you want to save it for tomorrow? Since we're talking about it, might as well do it, right?
Yep. Might as well.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Right. All right.
Gee, I moved to a new home about a week ago.
What kind of vehicle is it that drove?
October 2nd, 2019, 9 hours, 14 minutes, 53 seconds.
911, where's your emergency?
Someone just shot my window.
Okay, where
in a Jeep. I'm in the Cooley Station neighborhood. I was pulling in my house at 38755 East. Away, but I can see them driving off.
Okay, someone shot at your vehicle?
Yeah, and it hit my window. It shattered my driver's side window.
Okay, when you pulled into his driveway?
As I was trying to pull into my driveway. Sorry, I'm a little off breath. They just drove off. I saw them drive off.
Okay. Do you know who these people are?
I have no idea. I moved into a new home about a week ago.
What kind of vehicle is it that drove away?
Jeep Wrangler, had a Texas plate on it.
Jeep Wrangler?
It was olive green.
Olive green? Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on just a second. Texas license plate?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't get the plate. I'm sorry. I got a little nervous.
That's okay. That's all right. Oh, which way did they go? Do you remember?
They're driving south towards Pecos Road, between Pecos and Wrecker.
Okay. Okay. You don't see the vehicle anymore?
No, they left. They drove off.
Did you see how many people were in the Jeep? Sir?
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, did you see how many people were in the Jeep?
There must have been at least two, because somebody shot at me and then somebody else drove off, and I don't think they had enough time to go climb from the back into the front.
Right. Okay. And then do you have any injuries? Did they shoot at you?
They shot at me, it hit my window, it bounced off. It might not have been a real gun. It was loud, but it might have been like a paintball gun or something. Because, it should have hit me or gone through my window. It just shattered it. It didn't go through.
Okay. Okay. And your window is shattered?
Yeah.
Okay. And you have no idea who these people are?
No idea.
Are you okay?
They were just parked right in front of my house.
Okay. They were parked out. So they were parked across the street in front of your house?
In front, right on the same side of the street as my house, right in front. There's a minivan there. They're just parked right in front of that.
Okay.
I'm pulling into my house because they're gone.
Okay. Where are you at right now?
In my car.
Where are you at?
In my car at my house at 3
Okay.
East Phelps Street. I'm going to walk over here and see if I can see what they shot at me.
And what kind of car were you in?
I'm in a black Tesla Model X.
It's a black what?
Tesla Model X.
Okay, black Tesla Model X. Okay. Okay. All right. I do have officers on the way to meet you. Do you want to go inside or do you want to wait outside? Wherever you feel.
I'll wait out here. Yeah, I don't know that it was a real gun. Maybe it was. I can't tell.
Okay.
I don't think it was because we should have gone through my window.
Okay. All right. And what is your name?
My name's Brandon Boudreaux.
And your phone number? Okay. Okay. I'm going to stay on the line with you just to make sure you're safe, just in case they come back. Do you have any weapons on you?
No.
Okay. Okay. Do you see the officer pulling up?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Looks like he's coming up Phelps. You said 3875 East Phelps, correct?
Correct. I wonder if he's on. There's another section of it. He might be on another section.
Okay, because his car is showing right near Fisher Lane and Phelps Street.
I'm at, what is the cross street? Sorry, I just moved over here. Yeah, I'm at Fisher and Phelps. I don't see it.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. It's funny. His car was showing there for a second, and now it's showing back at Higley and Pecos. So that's kind of weird.
Wonder if he saw the Jeep drive off or something.
Maybe. I know that there's actually an officer that's heading towards you, and then there's other officers that are dispatched that are looking for the car. So we've got several guys looking out for the car, but we have one headed towards your house.
Yeah.
I think he accidentally hit his arrive button is what happened because he's still moving. So just out of nowhere, did you see the guy that
I didn't see who it was. It was weird because I was pulling in and I saw a Jeep, Texas plate, and I thought, oh, that's weird. You know, my neighbor must have someone visiting, and then they like lifted up their little back window in their Jeep, and I saw like a muzzle, and then I heard a snap, and my window shattered. So I just, instead of turning into my driveway, I just hit the gas and drove off because I didn't know. Then kind of when I got my bearings, I realized I should call 911.
Okay.
So then I drove, and then as I didn't drive very far. I just drove around the corner and waited for you guys to pick up. And then I kind of saw them come around the corner and go down the road and start driving down south towards Pecos and Brecker.
Okay. And did they look like Hispanic
I knew that
males,
was the only way
white
out.
males?
I didn't see a person at all. I didn't get to see a person.
Okay.
I knew there was only one way out of Pecos Manor, and that's down there on Pecos Road. So that's why I told you that.
Okay. All right. I do see the officer pulling up on Fisher from Fairview.
Okay. So he's coming from the other way. He'll come around right now. I'll see him in just a sec.
Okay.
Yeah, I see him.
Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and let you go.
So it's 7.5 minutes for the
Bye-bye.
cops to arrive.
Mm-hmm.
October.
But I don't think we got any answers about how long before, because he said he was on the phone with 911 when he was still on the same street on East Phelps.
Mm-hmm.
And he got down to the stop sign and turned right and went up by the pool. And I thought that I heard on that early on that he saw the Jeep, but I didn't hear it this time. So I'm going to have to look at it more. We can talk about it more tomorrow.
Okay.
But we did hear him say, I'm not sure that's a real gun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was paintball gun. He said so Trina starts out with a bang, but then he just said he heard a ping, right? Did he say he heard a ping?
That's what I thought I heard too.
Yeah. Ping versus bang. Yeah.
You know what's funny about that 7.5 minute timeline
Mm-hmm.
for the cops to get there? I had an experience once where I was in a house, and it's not that long ago, with an alley next to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell asleep on the back porch, and in the middle of the night, like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, I was awakened by these lights next to the window, and I had blinds, but I could see the lights through the blinds. And I'm like, what are lights doing in the alley?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was still half asleep. I woke up. There's an old pickup truck going right next to it. And they go back to the back of the alley backwards, and they just park there with their lights on. And I'm like, something's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
So I go out my back door and I look over the fence at them, and I'm like, there's 3 guys that are coming out of their pickup truck. And I'm like, I probably should not confront these guys by myself at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'll call 911. I'll say this is suspicious activity. I don't know they're doing anything nefarious, but it seems suspicious. Took 7.5 minutes for the cops to get there.
Wow.
And in the meantime, they were driving up the alley, and their the truck died. So they all got out of the truck and they were pushing it up the alley by the house. It was a bizarre situation.
Very bizarre. Yeah.
But 7.5 minutes in that situation, and his situation is like 100 times worse, 1,000 times worse. 7.5 minutes is a long time.
Absolutely. JWD asks, is it possible that it sounded like that because there was a silencer on it?
Absolutely a possibility.
So he was saying it sounded like, okay, so he's talking about the actual gun going off versus the projectile hitting. So I guess that's what he's because I'm thinking here at a ping, was that off of the Tesla itself, but he's talking about the
actual
gun
gunfire.
Yeah.
Gunfire. Yeah.
And real quick, OnlyFan asked, do they have it in? I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think they ever recovered it. So. All right. Shall we continue on?
Yeah. Right. So 911 call. Eventually, when Brandon gets home, he gets out of the car. Well, the window and everything comes out right there in his driveway, and he sees the bullet hole, and he's like, "Holy crap! Somebody tried to kill me."
Mm-hmm.
That was his next realization. Somebody had tried to kill him, so he texts his dad and says, "Somebody tried to kill me."
Yeah.
And he quickly came to the conclusion that Lori and Alex were responsible.
Yep.
And I made a note that several jurors were taking notes during this line of questioning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unusual to see several jurors taking notes. It's even unusual to see one juror taking notes. Mm-hmm. And some of it's because it's hard to tell, because when you take notes, you have to look down. So you can't tell if they're looking down writing notes or if they're just looking down trying not to fall asleep. But there were times when I could tell that their hand was moving, so they were definitely taking notes, and this was one of those times when they were taking notes.
Mm-hmm. I have right before that he got emotional when he talked about texting his dad. So I wonder if that emotion got the jurors to be like, "Ooh, wait, why is this guy? What's? I mean, texting your father. I think somebody just shot at me. I think someone's trying to kill me. That's, that would get my attention as well. And then here's this guy on the stand reliving this, choking up. I can see that if I was a juror, I'd be like, ooh, I would definitely pay a little bit more,
Yep. And then, so that's the end of direct on Brandon Boudreaux. And then the judge dismisses the jury, says we have a matter to sort out. And then Lori says, I don't have everything I need to cross-examine this witness, which presumably is the information that Jeff Smith has.
Yep.
Apparently he has something. Don't know what it is. Is it the entire file? Is it some critical documents? Is it one paper? We don't know. But Judge grants it. And then he says, he asked Trina K if it's okay with her. She says, I have other witnesses ready to go. If that's what you want to do, we can do it. And then Lori said, and then he says, so are you ready to go? And she says, no, I'm not ready to go for the next witness. I need time to prepare for the next witness because I wasn't ready for him. So judge says, all right, everybody take a 15-minute break.
Yep.
So the next one is the landlord, Elizabeth Collins, short and sweet. Basically, that property hasn't ever had any shootings, trouble with the law that she knows of, responses from law enforcement. And that Lori and Alex were not on the lease and they were never added to it. So they had no business being there. And Lori had no cross. So then they called the neighbor, Robert Abitamarco.
Yeah.
Oh, my notes, Robert Abitamarco.
You know what I'm finding irritating with this trial is that they come up and they say their name to the, but they're facing away, and sometimes they're loud enough. And sometimes I'm not. Usually you're on the stand and you introduce yourself and you spell your name. Now they're coming up and they're getting sworn in and they're spelling their name there. And I'm just going by, yeah.
They're off the microphone. I'll get the witness lists to you, both defense and state. I'll get those to you. I was scrambling for them today too.
Yeah.
Because about a Marco.
Yeah.
He says basically it's a quiet neighborhood. We don't have many problems here, if any. And I honestly thought he said that he was the neighbor on the same side of the street as Brandon, but I must have misheard because he's on the opposite side of the street. Mm-hmm. He's like directly across from Brandon's driveway, offset maybe like 15 feet, but their driveways are basically across from each other. Which means when he backs out of his driveway, that other neighbor that parks that white van right there, and that white van is parked in almost the exact same spot all the time, if it ever moves, apparently. Mm-hmm. Which makes me want to go check Google Earth and Google Maps to see how often I see that white van in that exact spot.
Right. I have conflicting notes here, so I'll let you finish, I guess. Like, was there anything more from Mr. Abitamarco?
Well, yeah, he goes into the Jeep Wrangler thing. Mm-hmm. So every time he backs out of his driveway, he's got to pay attention to that white van so he doesn't back into it. And then that day that Jeep Wrangler was there was even closer to where he's backing up. So he has to pay even more attention to when he's backing up. Mm-hmm. But he did notice the Jeep Wrangler. He noticed that it was running. He couldn't tell if anybody was inside it. And then he goes off to the gym. Mm-hmm. He didn't notice if there was a spare tire on it or not. So now you take yours. Your turn.
I have two lines because clearly I was distracted by something else, maybe, because I have what you just said. He saw the Jeep with tinted windows and it was running. But then my next line of notes is he doesn't recall seeing the Jeep. So I don't know what the disconnect was there for me. Other than I was streaming another trial and Paulie was having 4 kittens.
No, he definitely saw the Jeep Wrangler there.
Yeah.
He
So why do I
didn't-
have
he
doesn't
didn't-
recall seeing the Jeep?
He
I mean, I
doesn't.
have.
He doesn't recall seeing anybody in the Jeep.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Doesn't recall seeing anyone in the Jeep. Okay.
Yeah, I do remember that specifically. He testified to that specifically. He thought that that nobody was in the house that it was parked in front of, and also he didn't see anybody in it, and it was running. So those were all things that were just odd to him.
Okay.
In that encounter.
Yeah. Okay. I got the first part right. Saw the tinted windows, saw that it was running, but then, okay. Doesn't recall seeing anyone in the Jeep. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. And then that's pretty much it for him, right? That's all I have.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, no. So he went to the gym, and when he got back, there was a police presence and the Jeep was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so he told a police officer about that Jeep being there before. Okay. So that's a confirmation between Brandon's testimony or Brandon's statement and his observations. They coincide with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's confirmation. And then that's the end.
Okay.
And then Lori doesn't cross him either.
Right.
Then we get to Gilbert PD Sergeant Nolan McDermott. He's an 18-year veteran of the Gilbert PD. He was an investigator at the scene. He came in after the patrol officers, after Officer Rob. How do you spell Rob? Do you know how you spell Rob, Officer Rob?
I'm going with either ROB or ROBB.
Or what about RAAB?
Yeah, like Saab, Rob. Yeah.
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 I don't know.
Yeah.
But I spelled the ROB on mine, and I didn't realize it was that female officer that also responded to one of the complaints by Charles.
Yes, I thought so. I thought she sounded familiar. I'm like, oh, I thought the same thing. So that's confirmed. You can confirm that?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. It's the same female officer.
All right. When I first, I saw that obviously first, the Charles one, and then I watched the Brandon one. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah. She sounds really, really familiar. Yeah. So thank you.
It was when he was at the hotel.
Yep. And she's LDS too, right? Doesn't she say that she's?
Yes. Yep.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
So. I have 2 notes in here. We'll you go ahead and start, but I have 2 notes specifically for you. So I'll stop you when I feel like we're at the point where I want to ask you these questions.
Okay. So Sergeant McDermott was an investigator at the scene. She goes through the same pictures that she did with Brandon. And then she does close-up pictures of the bullet hole, the bullet strike, and talks about the angle of the indentation is consistent with Brandon's story. I have a spelling error in my tweet, which is funny. Projectile fragments were found in the molding below the window and behind and under the strike or the hole.
Right.
And then they're shown pictures of a trajectory rod that they used to place in the groove. They placed it in the bullet hole and the groove to try and get an idea of the trajectory, where the bullet might have come from. That's what they were using it for. And then she asks him, could the angle of a barrel out of the back of a Jeep window be rotated basically 180 degrees in any direction? He asked for clarification. And she says, basically, can you swing that sucker any way out of the back of a window? And you can point all the way to the left, or you can point all the way to the right, or anywhere in between, is my interpretation of what she was asking him. And he said, yes. The thing that I want to point out is you can also swing that sucker if you've got the fulcrum point right up under the window, like between the window and the door. You can also swing it 180 degrees up and down. So you have a whole hemisphere that you can point that firearm, and if the window is raised up above the tailgate of the Jeep, then it's more than a hemisphere. I mean, you like increase the possibilities of angles of shot, like not infinitely, but semi-infinitely.
So let me ask you this question. This has nothing to do with my notes, but we're at that point. So I'm not familiar with Jeep, how their windows. So you have to physically push it out and then you put the gun out, or how does a window?
Yeah. So you have two types of Jeeps, soft tops and hard tops. This was clearly a hard top. A soft top Jeep, they would have been better off with, because you just unzip the window. It's a plastic window. You unzip it and it comes down, and you can shoot around the spare tire. But a hardtop Jeep, which this has hinges on the top, and so it flips up on those hinges that are at the top of the hardtop.
Okay.
And there's the spare tires in the way. So if you don't open up the spare tire, which if they did that, he would have revealed himself laying in the back of the Jeep. So you can't do that, because then Brandon would have seen who it was, but then maybe he could have taken a better shot at him. So you remove that tire, you can keep the tailgate closed, and it swings out like this, left and right. The hinge is on the right side, so it swings right to left, like clockwise.
Right.
So you take that spare tire off, and then that back tailgate swings up, and then you can shoot out. So how much it swings up depends on how hard you push it. And that tailgate is not short. I mean, it's shorter than a pickup truck tailgate, but it's not short, like 12 inches, 18 inches. It's probably 24 inches. I'm just speculating. I haven't ever measured the tailgate of a 2018 Jeep Wrangler, but say it's 24 inches. You can't actually lay down and take a shot out of the back of the Jeep. You have to be like sitting up, or, sitting cross-legged. I mean, propped up on your elbow, maybe. Definitely not prone. Definitely not prone laying down on the back of the Jeep. You couldn't shoot over the tailgate and under the window. And when that window comes up, some of them have like a little hydraulic thing that lifts them up automatically all the way. I'm guessing this one didn't. He could just push it up as far as he wanted to push it up and stick that rifle out of there. And it's possible, if he didn't open that window up enough, that downward pressure of that back window caused the angle of his trajectory to be off, to unaliving Brandon. Right. I mean, that's one of the factors that could have been in play there. I'm probably never going to know.
So you can literally push that window open as much as you want, or do you have to keep it open with a hand? Like, does it just kind of swing and you have to keep it?
Well, it depends. It depends on those hydraulic supports. If you have hydraulic supports, it's possible you could open it up partially and they would hold it open to whatever level you did. But if you don't have those, you have to push it up all the way for it, and then it would stay up all the way.
Right.
And then I would think, oh no, I just messed up my camera. But then Brandon would have seen his face.
Right,
so
because the window would be open all the way. I mean, you'd see right in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to figure out, how is he? I'm thinking he's like sitting down, like literally just sitting, or like cross-legged. He's got the gun, but then he's pushing it open. You need like 3 hands to do all that.
Yep.
Hold the barrels, pull the trigger, push the window.
Yep. I'm going to take a quick break right here. My headphones are going to die, so I got to switch out to another pair.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. I'll pull up. Let's see. Start. Let's see. I know you got gifted a. Let's see. Forrest Nelson gifted. Thank you, Forrest, for gifting 5 Trial TV Live memberships. Appreciate that. Kathy is a new member. Kikaru is also a new member. Thank you for joining the crew. Now, I thought I saw, let's see here, hold on. JWD asks, anyone else finding that Alex's time of passing is rather strange? Absolutely. Absolutely, yep. Did they show a picture of the Jeep? Capri asks. They must have, but I can't recall right now. I'm trying to think what they showed a couple pictures. They showed the Nissan Rogue. I can't remember. That's bad. I can't remember it right now. CC True Crime. I think Alex was aiming for Brandon's head and thought the window went up that far because no frame at top of the window. I think Alex was aiming for his head and thought the window went up. Oh, okay. And there was no frame. Could be. Yeah.
All right, I'm back.
All right. All right, let's continue on. Okay. So right when they were talking about fragments recovered within the car, but not along the road, it was like maybe I have it like my sixth line. So it was, right at the very beginning, maybe in the first 5 minutes or so, we audibly heard a yawn. We heard somebody go, oh. Did you guys hear a yawn?
No, not unless it was coming from Trace on the case.
Okay.
She was a little tuckered out.
Okay. So Aaron just sent me a picture of the Jeep, but it's not, it's just kind of the side. Driver's, is that the driver's side? Yeah, driver's side. Looking back, we don't see the back of it. We just see the front. So we don't see the back of it. But those windows are pretty tinted. Everybody in the chat's like, did we just hear somebody yawn? Was that Lori? It kind of sounded like Lori to me. It sounded like Lori's, but yeah. See, Kikaru. Yep. You heard it. We definitely heard it. It was pretty audible. Then my next question is, because a lot of people ask this, doesn't Tesla have 360 degree cameras? And then why was there no house ring cameras? And that question is actually answered with the house ring cameras. But why didn't Tesla do they have cameras? I don't know.
I don't know that either.
I know they have for backing up, and I'm pretty sure they have for front. I have been in them twice, and I'm trying to remember. I know they have backing up for sure. I don't know. I think they do for like self-driving and stuff. Like if you're on the highway, you'll get an alert saying somebody's too close to you. Yeah, I think they do.
Mr. Google says they do.
Yeah.
Can't be wrong.
Yeah. So
Google's never wrong.
Yeah.
Like when Google said, so I Googled this case one time because I was looking for a specific video, and Google said that Lori Daybell had already been convicted of the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux.
Nice.
Like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Google in the future Google.
Right.
Curvio says depends on the model and think an event has to trigger while driving. His model, it seems like it was pretty, I would think relatively new, but I'm not sure. But Melanie knew he had the car, so he probably had it. Maybe it was like a year or two old. And I guess getting hit with a bullet wouldn't trigger an event. Yeah. I think it's more for like close, like I think it's for closeness. Like if you're driving on the highway or whatever, if you're too close to a car, or if you're backing up and there's somebody behind you, I think maybe that's what triggers it. It's like a close proximity alert. So, all right, those are my two questions.
Okay. 1 second.
Okay.
I gotta fix my camera.
Okay.
Told me I don't exist anymore. There we go. We're back online.
Yes, it was a Model X. That is correct. Okay.
All right. So
yes.
You want to keep going?
Carry on with Sergeant McDormand. Yes.
Okay. Shows him the bullet strike, the bullet hole. Consistent. We already went through that. So then, okay, now we get pictures of the trajectory rod, and I need pictures of this. Because my first thought when I saw the trajectory rod is it's pointing up at an angle that is not consistent with somebody taking a shot from the top of a tailgate of a Jeep.
Right.
Like I've got a 2.5-inch lift on my Jeep, and I've got 35-inch tires, and I don't think I could get that angle with that shot.
Yeah,
and I don't think her Jeep had a lift, and I don't think it had oversized tires.
Right. I'm scrubbing through what we watched the 911 call. I'm scrubbing through. I don't remember the trajectory rods. I must have done. Oh, wait. There they are. Hold on. Okay, I got it. Hold on. Let's go back to here. Is that it right there?
Yep.
Okay. All right, let me play this.
Look at that angle.
To try to give an idea in terms of a general idea of trajectory. Again, to kind of confirm what information we had from Mr. Boudreaux reference where the gunshot had come from in terms of then striking his vehicle. This is really just another visualization of that to memorialize it.
That's a 5 to 10 degree angle above the horizontal plane. That is a 5 to 10 degree angle above the horizontal plane. And that's why she started to get into on her cross. Do you know the height? Do you know the height of a Tesla? Would it surprise you? And those got kicked out, but that is a valid line of questioning. And then she didn't get her expert, her gunshot expert, or whoever it was. There was one on her list that she didn't get. He wouldn't allow in for obvious reasons, because she's not following the rules of evidence and procedure. But that to me looks like it's above the horizontal plane, and it doesn't make sense for Alex's rifle barrel. Even if it's 10 feet in front of the Tesla, would have to be 5 feet off the ground, 6 feet off the ground. 6. I'm saying 6 because she said, would it surprise you if a Tesla was 66 inches? So now I have to go check that out. That's another rabbit hole I have to go down. But
Tesla was 68, Jeep was 66.
What are you measuring to on the Jeep?
Yeah, I don't know. She just said, do you know the height of a Tesla? 68 inches. That was objected to. Do you know the height of a Jeep? 66 inches. That was objected to.
She said, would it surprise you if the height of a Tesla was 68, height of a Jeep was 66? Okay, but that's the height to the top of the car. That's not the height to the top of the tailgate, which is where the shot's coming from. Right.
So you're saying that it would be a sharper angle. Meaning, I'm sorry.
No, a flat angle. It would have to be a flat or below horizontal,
right?
To come from the tailgate of a Jeep.
So to get this angle, he would have had to been like on top of the roof, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Or standing outside it and have the gun at least at shoulder height, if not higher.
Right. Yeah. I thought, we'll get to that, but I thought that was pretty good. You're right. During the cross, I would give that one to Lori, trying to go down that rabbit hole. I thought that was good. Good. Let's see. And Kikaru, by mentioning the height, is she planting doubt? It got objected to, but it didn't get stricken, so it's still there. Whether or not the jury's paid it, well, I think I would have paid. I paid attention to that. That stood out.
I did too. That got my attention like right away.
Yeah.
Like but it's also a very difficult perspective picture. Once again, these cops don't know how to use perspective in their pictures. Like, I don't know the height of the car versus the height of the photographer versus the angle of the camera. I mean, it looks to me like it's above horizontal. But that could be deceptive, and the curve of the car and all of that. There are no perspective pictures in this. There are no comparison pictures. And that to me is shoddy police work.
Right. I lost my train of thought. I was reading a question. I lost my train of thought. All right. And we'll just keep moving on. Oh, do you want me to keep playing, or we're done with this?
There's one more picture of the trajectory rod, but it's close up, so it doesn't give us much more information.
So do you want me to? I don't need to play anymore.
Yep.
Okay.
Nope. I think we're good.
All right, I'll take it off stage. Okay.
Bye trajectory rod. So then Trina K starts to get into the Jeep history. It had a Texas plate, and then they lived in Texas for a while. It was registered to Charles, but it was photographed in Chandler at that thing that happened in Chandler on July 11th, 2019, which she can't mention. Mm-hmm. But after Charles's demise, was owned by Lori, who moved to Rexburg that fall before this happened. That's all I have on the Jeep. I didn't take many more notes on that because it's stuff that didn't seem to make a huge difference to me. Do you have more notes on the Jeep?
Yeah. Well, the big one was the receipts that were found after it was impounded.
Oh yeah, right.
That was, and somebody asked a question about that. That's one of our questions.
I did not take good notes on the receipts because I was in the back left corner of the room, and both of my screens that I could see to the left and to the right were horrible, and I could not see and tell what they were pointing out, and I couldn't write fast enough to keep up with what she said was found. So that's why we got you. That's what we got you for.
Yes. All right. Whoever asked that question, here's the answer. The one receipt was a flight receipt for Melanie Boudreaux, and that was October 26th, 2019. Then they showed another receipt from Taco Time, which I'm assuming was a restaurant. That's Idaho Falls, October 31st of 2019. I didn't catch the time stamp of that, but those were the two receipts. Then they also talked about remove the infotainment center December 31st. So there was a flight receipt for Melanie Boudreaux, October 26th. And then there was a receipt for a restaurant, Taco Time, October 31st.
So that means that vehicle was in Idaho in October. Is that what that means?
Yeah. And that Melanie B, there was a flight, Melanie Boudreaux, there was a receipt for her flight that they had her come up, I guess, October 26th.
Right. So the wedding that she was supposed to attend that she and Brandon fought about was much earlier than that. And that was in Utah, right?
Definitely Utah. I forget the timing right now.
Yeah. I think several months earlier.
I know the grandfather passed away. I think that was his grandfather that she didn't want to go. And that's when they fought, like from morning, I think, until midnight, or afternoon until midnight, something like that.
Yep. Yeah. And that's where the text to Lori came in.
That was like mid-July, I think. I think it was mid-July.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Well, it was before July 11th because it was before Charles was shot. So early July, first week and a half of July.
Let's see.
All right. So then what I have in my notes is we get into the blue Nissan Rogue.
Yes. Let me get there.
And she mentioned Colby in this. And at some point in time, Colby was interviewed by Sergeant McDermott, and I'm not sure why.
December 21st. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
At some point, Colby was in possession of the blue Nissan Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it was seized by the Gilbert Police Department, it was with Ian's sister. That's the Hannah.
Yep. Hannah Blackmere.
Yes. There you go. Got to go back one page.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah Blackmere is Ian Pulowski's sister. Right. And this blue Nissan Rogue was in her garage when Gilbert PD seized it. Or was it Mesa? I don't remember if it was Gilbert or Mesa. Somewhere in the East Valley. Somebody seized it for cause. They had a warrant to seize it. I have a note here that juror number 9 has his head on his hand and appears to be bored and or sleepy.
Oh no.
Yeah, he's not paying close attention to this testimony.
Right.
And let's see on my notes on X. So the blue Nissan Rogue eventually is the one that was seen on the video at the storage unit, which is what they put the seat and the tire in and took to the storage unit and then unloaded into the storage unit and drove away. And then the next day came back and got some things and eventually left a bunch of things in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where this blue Nissan Rogue is. I wonder if the jury's following that yet. They're like, okay, we've got a Tesla, we've got a Jeep Wrangler, and now we've got a blue Nissan Rogue. Like, how do all of these vehicles play part? I don't know that I've seen a case that has so many, like a attempted murder case that has so many vehicles involved, and we're not even done yet with all of the vehicles.
Yeah. I don't remember Trina saying anything about this Nissan in opening. She said that we'll see them go to the storage unit, but she didn't say anything about they went to a storage unit in a Nissan.
No, we know that because of our research.
Right.
Oh no, she didn't say it in opening, but before this evidence is introduced, Lori objects to it. Lori says, I object on relevance. This is the first objection out of Lori of the day, of the trial, if you will.
Oh, I missed that. Yeah.
She objects on relevance. What is the relevance of introducing the blue Nissan Rogue? And Trina K says, this Nissan Rogue will be seen on video at a later date. And has to do with it. I don't remember her exact words. I'm sure it's on video, but the Trina K introduces this as the vehicle that was on video at the storage unit. She didn't say storage unit, but was seen on video later, is what she says.
Gotcha.
And then I connected the dots to the one that was seen at the storage unit.
Right. Gotcha.
Oh, that was Lori's. I think that may have been our only objection of the day. That's the first one I remember, and maybe the last one I remember.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I heard a lot of no objections, no objection, Your Honor. Yeah, I don't think I didn't even catch that one.
So then they found more receipts for purchases in Idaho in October inside that blue Nissan Rogue, which means that was in Idaho in October, which we're going to later connect the dots was where the storage unit was.
Right.
And then he's asked about the infotainment system from Alex's F-150 and that was seized by another detective. And then that's it for state that I have.
Yep. Yeah, same.
But we do get some cross from Lori.
We get a lot of cross. I think this is the most notes I think I took all day.
Yeah.
Was her cross here. I mean, aside from Brandon.
Right. She gets into Officer Robb's. Does he recall Officer Robb saying that she didn't think it was a real gunshot? And we've watched that body cam, and she does say she doesn't think it was a real gunshot. So why doesn't she bring that body-worn cam into evidence? She could have subpoenaed that. She could have requested that. She could have done a public records request for that because everybody else has it. I've seen it. I've seen Officer Robb saying she doesn't think it was a real gunshot. Why does she not bring this into evidence? And there was something else later that she didn't bring into evidence where the detective after this, I think, or maybe it's him, maybe it's McDermott she says, do you remember seeing that? And he says, well, maybe if you had the pictures of it, you could refresh my memory. And she's like, oh shit, I don't have the pictures of that. I'm moving on. All right. Next question.
Right.
I'm like, lady, lawyer Lori, what are we going to do with you? We know what we're going to do with you. Well, we know what the state of Arizona is going to do with you, and we know what the state of Idaho is going to do with you.
Exactly.
He doesn't recall that. And then she starts talking about the location of that shard of glass in the street. And I actually think she starts making some good points.
Mm-hmm.
Does he know for sure it was from the Tesla? And I can't say for sure that it wasn't from something else, is his eventual answer. And do you know for sure that it hasn't been moved to that spot from somewhere else? And he eventually says, I don't know for sure that I can say that it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So these are actually good points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then she goes down this trail asking about how many friends Brandon had over at his house. So Brandon's been shot at. He realizes that an attempt has been made on his life. He tells he really only has two friends, is what he testified to, his two business buddies.
Yeah.
That he's in business with. I imagine these are those two guys that are over there right now. That's what I picture.
Mm-hmm.
But she goes down that road for some reason. She wants to know about how many friends he had over. I think it was a couple. I don't think he knew for sure how many. Were they walking around in the garage? I don't remember that. Did you watch Officer Rob's body-worn cam? If I did, I don't recall.
See, that I had a problem with, that he's the lead case agent and he didn't watch the body cam.
Yeah.
Right? Did you find that odd?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was definitely something I'm like, why wouldn't you watch that?
Why wouldn't you watch all of the body-worn cam from all of the officers that responded initially?
Yeah, that one struck me as like, why didn't you do that?
Why wouldn't you, as detectives, have on body-worn cam recording all of your actions in investigating the scene,
Right.
and then you can go back and watch that later too?
Right. Yeah, that one struck me as odd.
Yeah, let's ask Canton PD that too.
Yeah, right.
I don't think this is that level of incompetence or whatever, but
yeah,
there are questions. There are questions to ask.
Yep, absolutely.
Speaking of Gilbert PD, one of the Gilbert goons had I think it was a trial status hearing today up or down on the 4th floor. So some of the media got distracted from Lori's trial today, which was a good thing for the rest of us that stayed at Lori's trial. So now, for some reason, she asks about a U-turn that he wrote down in his report. He said, Brandon did a U-turn to go follow the Jeep for a little bit. And initially I had a question about this too, because I pictured Brandon going west on his street, going north on whatever that other street was. And when he got to the pool area, like turning right into that parking lot and then looking for the Jeep to come up from his right, if they were going to come up that way, but he didn't. He parked alongside the road. He saw the Jeep in the rearview mirror. He did a U-turn and he did follow them for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw them go south of Pecos, and then he turned into his driveway. I don't know why she was going down that road.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that she scored any points for that one.
Yeah, that's the first time I heard about a U-turn, because he didn't say that in his on the 911 call, nor did he say that in direct.
Right.
So that's the first, because I'm typing this. I'm like, what U-turn? This is the first time I was hearing about this.
Not just U-turn, but following the Jeep for a little bit.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So after he pulled over, he stopped. And then as the Jeep continued, Brandon made the U-turn. Yeah. Yeah. This is all, I don't know why Trina didn't bring that up, or why. Well, she hasn't crossed Brandon yet. So maybe Lori will cross him on that. I don't know.
So it kind of felt like the U-turn was a little bit of a nothing burger. I mean, I don't, unless she plans to pull it in her closing statement, but
who
we
cares?
all know that's not happening. Yeah.
I mean, other than the report said one thing, but now you're saying he went around the block. I mean, is she trying to say that the report was one thing, but his testimony is something else?
I think she was trying to say that, but he could have, and he did do a U-turn north of that east to west street by the pool, and then come back south and then go east behind the Jeep. But then he said he lost the Jeep and he just went back home.
Right. So Northwest, good to see you in our chat saying going around the block is a U-turn, I suppose.
No, the U-turn was by the pool.
Yeah.
So he also testified that after he sped away from the shooting, he got to the end of his block and he turned right and he went all the way up by the pool, and then he stopped by the pool and he was facing north. He testified to that. So when he's looking out of his rear view mirror or his side view mirrors or both, or he's turning around and looking, with his own physical eyes, he saw the Jeep coming up north on that side street. We're going to have to do a map. Maybe we'll save the map for tomorrow night because it's getting late for everybody.
Yeah. So Debbie says he would. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, Debbie says he was going to. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go. No, what does Debbie say?
Debbie says he did say he was going to follow the Jeep, but didn't.
But then the police report said he did follow him for a little bit. So he sees the Jeep coming up behind him. He's facing north on that side street. He sees the Jeep coming up behind him, and then he sees the Jeep turn right on that northernmost east to west street. So then he pulls the U-turn, and by the time he also turns left into that east to west street. The Jeep is probably at least halfway down to the next street. So he's probably in his mind, and you and I would be like, do I really want to follow him? Do I not?
Yeah, right.
What's this going to turn into?
Right. I just got shot at. What am I doing? Yeah. And I agree, Northwest. Big picture U-turn is not that important. I don't know why she was going after that, other than the report said U-turn and then his testimony says something else. But that's the only thing. You're right. It's a nothing burger. I'm not getting anything out of that. So.
She may have been trying to impeach it and just was getting nowhere with it.
Yeah.
So then she turns to the bullet fragments and to the testing on the bullet fragments. Was any testing done? No. To see if they were actually bullet fragments. What was the chain of custody? Why didn't he request him to be tested? And then could the damage have been caused by something else? And he was a little non-committal at that at first.
Yeah, here it comes. This got to rise out of our chat.
And could it have been caused by, she didn't say tire iron. What was the word she used?
She said tire iron.
Was it tire iron? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Could a tire iron have caused that damage?
Yep.
And he's like, I don't understand your question. And in your opinion, so she walks into this, like lawyer Lori walks into this. Could the damage have been caused by something else? And he says, in my opinion, no.
Yep.
She walked into that. She walked right into that.
Yep.
And she didn't have to, because Trina K was going to go there anyway on redirect, but she walked into that, and I don't know how impactful that was on the jury. Let me look at my juror notes.
But I mean, seriously, a tire iron. She's like, yeah, could have been something other thing. He's like, I guess it's possible. She's like, and I think she did mention maybe something else, but she's like, a tire iron, and it's, I mean, you look at those pictures, it's like, really a tire iron. There's no way a tire iron is going to cause a puncture like that. I mean, just so anyway.
Could it have been a 7 iron, a 5 iron?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what she's trying to suggest. Well, I guess she's trying to suggest it wasn't a gunshot. It wasn't a projectile. It was something. But why would somebody be throwing or hitting it? That just didn't make sense to me. But
right. So I have a couple minutes before this, the jury is kind of getting restless. They're like, a couple of them are stretching. Oh, and they're like, we need to take a break. And it's getting later in the day. It's not late into the day, but it's later. So we take a 15-minute break.
Mm-hmm.
And then we come back from the break, and before the jury comes in, judge has a sidebar. But it's a nothing burger sidebar because he says, just for the record, that was a sidebar off the record to see if anybody wants to put something on the record before we call the jury back. So nobody wanted to put anything on the record before the jury comes back. So the jury comes back. And then she keeps crossing Sergeant McDermott. She's focusing on the trajectory and the rod. She asks, how tall is a Tesla?
Mm-hmm.
Who placed the rod? It wasn't him. Who did the trajectory testing? And he said, no trajectory testing was done. What do you have on that?
Oh, I have no additional testing. Let's see. Trajectory rod into the he didn't stick the rod in. There was no additional testing done. Was there?
Actually, that's literally what I have on my tweet. No additional testing was done. And what he said was, I guess you could call that trajectory testing, but no additional trajectory testing was done. So basically they put that rod in there.
And that was it.
Yeah, for a visualization.
Right.
Hold on, I gotta say, I got people who are saying good night because it's getting late, so I gotta say good night back.
Sure. While you do that, this is a good point by Northwest. No known fixed points to do true trajectory testing.
Right. So I mean, if you look at that indentation, that groove, like it's just like the rifle barrel sticking out of the back of the Jeep. There's like a hemisphere that could come from. I mean, that groove could be down at a lot lower angle than what they put that trajectory rod.
Right.
I mean, got to have 2 points to make a line. 1 point does not make a line.
Right. Right. It's a point.
That's a good point.
That's a good point. It's a point. Oh. Hellcat is saying congratulations. Damn.
What?
Wow.
I've been on here.
Wait, what was the score? I can't believe. What was the score? Wow, 111 to 110. Buzzer beater. Halliburton.
What a tight game.
Halliburton does the buzzer beater yet again. Your boys might be they might be able to. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. Yeah. It's a series. It's not one game.
Yep. Interesting though. Yep.
But was that in Indianapolis or was that OKC?
No, that was in Oklahoma. Because they had the best record. Oklahoma had the best record in the league.
Taking a road game. My Pacers taking a road game.
Yep. All right.
Lori's not taking a road game. She's on the road in Arizona, and it's not been kind.
Mm-hmm. Well, that'll be something fun for you to watch at some point. Watch the highlights.
Yep, definitely. I haven't had many Atlanta Braves highlights to watch lately. They've been losing series left and right.
Yeah. All right. Where did we end up? Trajectory rods.
Yep. No additional testing was done, and then we get to redirect by Trina K. She leads him into stating that the damage he observed is consistent with the damage from a bullet or projectile. Then she says, in your 18 years of experience, is this what bullet fragments look like? And then, is this what a bullet hole looks like? And yes. He says the totality of the evidence is consistent with a projectile strike.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty powerful stuff.
Yep.
And then he further states it's also consistent with Brandon's statement and the neighbor's statement in one form or another. This was a pretty big series of questions for me and probably for the jury. Do you have any doubt that these fragments and that hole came from a projectile? No, I do not. What was the purpose of the trajectory rod? To help us visualize where that projectile may have come from. So that's what I have in my notes.
Mm-hmm. Other than he didn't interview Brandon, he learned all his information from Detective Pilar and briefings. The shooting didn't occur in the garage. Yeah, just random.
Is that Pilar or Pillar?
I heard Pilar sometimes. I heard Pillar other times.
Well, she asked him that.
She did, yeah. I think did he say Pillar? I think he said Pillar. Or
yes.
Yeah. Because earlier they said Pilar, so
right.
I think it was I forget who it was. Anyway, all right. So that's it for Mr. McDermott, right? That was it for him?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
I have 406 redirect ends. And then the state calls Gilbert PD Detective David Ferrer.
How do you spell his name? I had Ferrar. It was F-R? Is it F-R? F-R?
I have F-R-E-R. F-R-E-R-E-R.
Ferrer. It's like Federer.
Right. And I got that from the list, but I got to double check it.
Okay.
I got to double check it to confirm.
Okay. Yep. All right. Northwest says Ferrer.
Yeah.
Ferrer. Okay.
All right. Confirmation has been had.
Thank you, Northwest.
Okay. And here's my official list. Yeah. David Ferrer.
Okay. Ferrer.
Number 2853. So he's officer or unit number 2853 with the Gilbert Police Department. He has over 20 years of law enforcement experience. So after the formalities, she shows him the same pictures we've all seen, that she showed Brandon, that she showed Sergeant McDermott. The jury gets to see them again, and I think I have a note about that. Yeah, a couple of them are kind of checking out a little bit. Oh, so on Lori's cross of Sergeant McDermott, I do have a note that Juror 9, who is the guy on the top right, who is a little fidgety and occasionally bored, he is taking notes on Lori's cross of McDermott.
Interesting.
And like Juror 15 is paying good attention.
Okay. The whole time or specifically or?
No, randomly. So I'll look at him and he's like scribbling on his notepad, and then we'll look back at he's not, and then we'll look back at he is again. So it's random.
Gotcha.
Sporadic.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Ferrer, so he sees the crime scene photos from October 2nd at Brandon's house. Just talks about, going through the scene, his role in going through the scene. It didn't seem to be that extensive or that unextensive, just usual investigation. But then we get into his search of Alex's pickup on December 23rd, 2019. So they seized Alex's pickup truck with a warrant, and inside of that, he seized like 4 items. One of them was a letter from Chad to Alex, and then a couple of them were like evidence of firearm ownership. Do you have anything else besides those noted on yours? Because I saw 4 things, but I only noted those responses.
Practice bullet. There was a practice bullet found inside the truck, and it was like in a little package.
Yes.
And it was 223, which means a rifle. And he says that's used to help aim a rifle. You use that. It's it's a practice bullet.
Right.
I don't know guns, so I guess there are such things as a practice bullet. And then earplugs were found.
Right. Evidence of firearm ownership.
Yeah. What's the
Plus
point
that
of
letter.
Yeah, and the letter too. What's the point? Like Alex had a vanity plate, CP Quint. Is that any like what is that? Anyway,
I don't know.
I didn't get
I don't
that.
know.
Okay, that's the first time I heard that. I was trying to figure out, did that mean anything? So good. I'm glad. So Northwest says the 223 is an AR-15. They did not say that in this testimony, so thank you for that, Northwest. They just said it meant a rifle.
Yeah, that vanity plate is a rabbit hole that I'm going to have to go down.
CP Quint, and it was all caps. Well, it's always all caps, but yeah, CP
Right.
Quint. Yeah,
Right. And it's funny, he noted, I have done hundreds or whatever he said. I've done a whole bunch of search warrants on vehicles, and sometimes they all look the same, but when I see the license plate and especially a vanity plate, I recognize or I remember doing that search.
Okay. So Northwest says that's a Jaws for Quint. Was that that was the salty guy who gets chomped up at the end? Quint, right? Wasn't he the guy that was on the USS Indianapolis? What's the C? Oh, is that like a reference because he was in the Navy? Right?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Quint. Yep.
Nate Eden has a bunch on it too. I just Googled it, and Nate Eden was the first thing that came up.
Yep. Robert Shaw was, so Quint was his name. All right. So what's the CP stand for? Was that his ranking in the Navy? Because he was in the Navy. He was on the USS, I think it was Indianapolis, who delivered the bomb to I think it was Fat Boy or whatever it was. No, Angola Gay. I think Indianapolis delivered the bomb to the Angola Gay.
How can we add more layers to an already crazy?
Yeah, maybe the CP means captain. Okay, so captain. CP is captain.
Captain Quint.
Why on earth would Alex have Captain Quint from Jaws? What is going on? That is crazy. Thank you, Northwest. You have so much knowledge. I swear to God, you are the Library of Alexandria. Unbelievable, yeah. Alexandria. All right.
If you Northwest, if you started a channel, I would subscribe to it. I guarantee I would.
And yes, I know about that. That one I knew about, the Homer J. Maximus. That one we knew about, and we talked about that before. But yeah. That is so random. That is so random to have that as a vanity plate. I mean, I understand loving the movie Jaws because that is a brilliant movie, but that's really going. And Alex, of all people, that's just so bizarre. Anyway. All right. So the earplugs, the 223, and that's all I have. And then we get to cross. And did you have anything else in there?
Yeah, at 4:25 p.m. and everybody's getting restless.
Yep.
She begins with her usual questions about, when did you get on the scene? What was your role? Did you get debriefed? Who debriefed you, or who did you debrief? And he doesn't know specifically. He just knows usual procedures. Her usual answers for usual law enforcement witnesses we go through. We find out that he did take pictures somewhere between 20 and 100. He collected the fragments from Sergeant McDermott. So Sergeant McDermott collected them, put them in an evidence bag, and handed them off to this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she kind of went down that a couple of times with McDermott and now Ferrer about chain of custody, if you will.
Yep. Well, she did that in the last trial too. Chain of custody is her thing. Who did you get it? Who gave it to you? Who did you give it to? How did they mark it? She's never scored a single victory off of any of those. Ever.
No, I agree. Yep.
Then she also asked about why if the fragments were tested, who can order them to be tested or request that they be tested. He said that he could have done it. Why didn't you do it? I don't even know if he actually had a good answer to that. But it's a good question. And now she's done that with 2 witnesses in a row. Why didn't they test it?
Mm-hmm. His answer was really kind of squirrely. Were those fragments tested? He says, I don't believe so. And who would send it out? And he's like, well, we would send it out to like a scientist or some sort.
Right.
It was kind of squirrely.
Well, and she didn't push into that more. That was like an open door for her to go in there and say, what do you mean you would send it out? Who's responsible for sending it out? Are you?
A scientist or some sort? Yes. He had no solid answer.
Right. Correct. So he knew he was like being backed into a corner, but she like let him escape out the side, like at the last second. Like she did not like dig in and there you go.
Yep.
She does that so many times. She'll like have like a glimmer of something that might be an actual legal argument, and then she'll just at the last minute, there it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, you're right. She nibbles at the sides, or she'll get one, and you're like, ooh, you might if you were an actual lawyer, you might actually get somewhere with it. But again, so what? I mean, even if he was backed in the corner all the way. So what, you didn't send it out for testing? How do you know it's not a bullet fragment without testing? I mean, we've had 2 people testify with decades of experience between them, and they're like, no, this was clearly from a bullet, from a projectile. We don't need to send it out for testing.
But if you were a good lawyer, you would get to closing and you would say, why wouldn't 2 detectives or 2 law enforcement officials, investigators, take bullet fragments take fragments that they think are bullet fragments and not test them?
Yep. Just to make sure.
Right. Why would people with that much experience not send them out for testing?
Right.
It seems a little fishy. Like that would feed totally into her conspiracy argument. Totally would feed into it if she were a decent attorney. And
Agreed.
she's not.
and she's not. Yeah. Totally.
All right.
What else?
So, and then she goes down the casings route. So she wants to know if they found any casings. No, we didn't find any casings. So where would casings go? And I don't remember if she specifically mentioned like a rifle in the back of a Jeep, but that's the picture that I had when she's talking about this. Where would casings go? And he says there is no scientific way to determine where casings go. They go off to the left, they go off to the right, they bounce off of things. You know, there's no scientific way to determine that. And we're talking to a jury, and this goes back to being there for jury selection. She asked them, not the judge, not Trina K, how many of you are gun owners? And there was 35-40% of them that are gun owners. And then she asked, how many of you have been to a gun range? And it was like 95%. They know how gun casings are unpredictable, how they just go willy-nilly in a lot of different directions. Usually it's not left or right from the same firearm. If it's a left firearm ejection, they all go left, but they could go forward, backwards, you know, in a bunch of different angles. If it's a right ejection, and we saw this in Charles Valor's case, actually, the 2021 case. We saw that talked about that. But she's asking this witness in front of knowledgeable jurors about casing ejections. I don't think that's a positive or a negative. I mean, because she's asking a valid question. Where do gun casings go? Did you find them? Where did you search? Here's where we searched. Did you search here? Yeah, we searched there. I mean, I don't know one way or the other if she scored points or lost points on that one. It was a line of questioning that didn't get anywhere in my book.
I suppose, and a couple of people are saying the casing would be in the Jeep, and I would totally agree with that. And I guess maybe she's saying, well, you didn't find casing, so that means because she's going off of this whole thing of like, well, are you sure it was a gun? You sure it wasn't a tire iron? How do you know for sure it was a gun? Well, you didn't find casing, so how do you know it was a gun? So
Right.
I think that's what she's trying to get at.
That doesn't square well with me, because if only the barrel is sticking out, that means the rest of the firearm is inside the Jeep, and that is where the casing is going to end up 100%.
Of course. It's surprising that they did not find the casing after they impounded that Jeep, though. That is surprising.
Right, but how much time did they have to clean it out afterwards?
Well,
didn't they put the seat back in? They put the tire back on.
Yeah, that's what that was going to be my next thing of it. Yeah, they probably found the casing in, because it's got to be somewhere. It has to be somewhere. So
yeah. Well, I think Trina K mentioned something in her opening argument about gunshot residue. So did they swab the Jeep for gunshot residue, and is that related to Tammy Lachik's testimony? Because we've seen a motion about Tammy Lachik recently. She is a Gilbert Police Department forensics examiner or investigator, and she flew up to Rexburg to take swabs from the Jeep. We know that. So
okay.
I don't know if she's going to testify in person or if we're just going to see reports that she prepared, but she's on the witness list. She's on the state's witness list.
Okay. That's good to know.
Are you about ready to wrap this up? Because
yeah, I'm good. That's pretty much all I have anyway.
What else? What do we have? What do we have from chat? I think we have some questions from chat. Let's get to those.
I start a couple here. Do they have their phones this trial? Oh, the jurors, I think.
I have not seen jurors have phones in this trial. I honest to God hope that Judge Boreski learned his lesson with juror 15. But
right.
I don't know. We'll see.
Sinbad also asks about Taz. Was Taz there today?
Tosh?
Tosh? Is that her name? Tosh?
Yeah. Not today. No, she has a life. She has a job. She won't be back for maybe till verdict or till closing arguments. Not today, though.
Right. This is a good question by Kikaru, who I think has gone to sleep. Why would the shooter park backwards right up against the white van? Well, yeah, because if the white van's facing this way, the Jeep comes in this way, because he'd have to back up and then speed away. So go ahead.
Well, maybe he didn't want to block Brandon's driveway, because he was literally right at the edge of Brandon's driveway. And if he was like, you'd have to be back like 5 feet to be able to cut the wheel hard enough to get around the white van without having to back up. So then he'd be like 5 feet into Brandon's driveway. But we do need to do some exhibits. I got to do some exhibits. I got to do cutouts and put them on Google Earth or Google Maps and look at a 2018 Jeep Wrangler JK and look at what year. Somebody in chat tell me what year was Brandon's Tesla. We saw what model it was, but what year was it?
Does he say?
It's in the record somewhere, and somebody in chat knows. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I just have black Tesla Model X 4-door like an SUV. That's what he said. Oh, well, he said he bought it 3 or 4 years earlier.
There you go, 2015 or 16.
That's his testimony. Tonya says, did Alex have any guns that were registered to him? If using a silencer, that definitely would be registered, since all silencers require a stamp.
He definitely did have guns registered to him. We saw that in Charles's case, but
yeah,
we don't know which ones, I think.
And this might be the last one. Let's see. This one's an easy one. Valerie says, what color did the witness say the Jeep was?
Green. Some kind of green.
Yep.
I think he said one kind of green at first, and then later he changed it to camo green. I don't remember what the green colors were, but it was green.
Yep. And here I'm looking at it. Aaron sent this to me. It looks gray to me. That doesn't look green at all. It looks gray. I can't pull up any images in StreamYard. But anyway.
Damn you, StreamYard.
All right. Yeah, I'm pretty much toast. I know you have a lot more to do than I do, meaning drive, but I'm sure you're tired.
Yeah, but you're 3 hours ahead, so I'm 3 hours behind. What does that mean? I don't know.
It's all relative. You got to get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I can sleep in until like 11 o'clock.
So tell me real quick. So
Sure.
you were following that other case in California at
Yes.
at UC Davis.
Yes.
So did he finish testifying before the Lori Daybell trial or Lori Daybell trial?
Yes. Yes. Yep. Today was rebuttal, and closing arguments are going to be tomorrow.
Okay. So are you dual streaming those?
I will tomorrow, and then after that they go into jury, deliberation, obviously. So we'll be on verdict watch for that, which isn't a big deal because I don't have to pay too much attention to that. But Capri Law was taking notes for me for Carlos. But then there's phase 2, if there is a phase 2, which I'm pretty sure there will be.
Right?
Yeah. That we won't dual stream. I can't. I'll just do like mornings. I'll do like the morning after. I'll do the morning before, and then the next day I'll do the afternoon. That kind of thing. Yeah. But no, I want to start to focus just on Lori. So.
Yeah, and then we can be done with her. We can be rid of her.
Yeah.
It's funny. One of the other guys in the media pool, I'm not going to give any hints about who it was. He's like, so what do you think? And I'm like, well, it'll be nice when we can finally send her off to whatever prison for the rest of her life. And he's like, do you really want to kill the golden goose? Is how he put it. And I'm like,
it's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Sarah Boone. I mean, there were some creators that are still doing Sarah Boone, and they're still getting good eyeballs on it. So personally, I'm done with Lori after this. I don't know how. Are you going to continue?
I want to be more. I want to be more on the periphery of that. Like continue my series with Kresha about abuse in the Mormon Church. Definitely going to continue that and keep shedding light on those things we need to, that are difficult to talk about. I guess that's the bottom thing.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
But there are other things to look at too, because that's once a week, and there are 6 other days in the week to look at and plan.
Your compatriot there says she's done with
Yes,
her.
I know you are, Salty. I know you are. Salty's been done with her for a long, long time.
Wait, hold on, Zach coming in hot. How long for Lori to die in the Arizona heat? 227. I don't know. All right, guys. Yep, Forrest. Good riddance. All right. I think on that we're gonna. I'm toast. I can't even think anymore. Do you want to say any parting words before I end this stream?
I just want to say thanks to everybody who was in my chat. I want to say thanks to everybody who's in your chat and to the super chats. Did I get a super chat in there that I need to recognize? I think it was like way back in the beginning. I don't know that I can scroll all the way back there.
I'm going through. Oh, they would be under starred. Yeah, here we go. Oh, wait, what happened to them? They went away.
Yep. Kathy Kikaru. Oh, Kikaru became a new member of both of our channels. Do you see that?
I do. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Thank you, nice. Kikaru. Yeah. I had them here and now they're gone. I don't know what happened to them. All right. Oh, well.
Thanks to the new members. Thanks to all the participation. Thanks for hanging with us really, really late. This is the one time that being on Pacific time benefits me because it's only 9:24 here and it's 12:24 your time.
Right, but it's all relative. You have to get up in 6 hours.
I don't have to because I'm with media. I can.
Oh,
Some of the media literally shows up at like 9:45 and still gets in, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's
That's
not going
nice.
to be me because I'm with Trace and she's not with the media, so she's got to get there as early as she wants to be. So that's when we're going to get there, which is early.
Mhm. I can thankfully let's see. Yeah, we don't start streaming until I think Carlos does start earlier, but I think it's still like 12. I got to double check. And OnlyFans, no, closing statements, closing arguments are going to be tomorrow. But yeah, I can get a good 8 hours of sleep. I don't have to get
Good
up.
deal.
Yeah, I don't have to
Good
get up
deal.
early. So anyway, all right. Well, on that, Joe, thank you so much for joining us as always with your fantastic insight in the courtroom, and we'll see you tomorrow. And do you have any last words for our chat?
Ciao, everybody. Have a good night. Stay tuned. We've got more for you tomorrow. Lori has more for you tomorrow, I guarantee.
Absolutely. All right, my friend. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
You too. See you
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay. Bye.